Bullet Podcast. I'm Adam Stark.
I'm Isaac.
And I'm Kirkland.
I'm the only one that said my last name.
Bomar.
Golfy.
All right.
Respectively.
So today, in anticipation of Shazam coming out next week, we're just going to have a little conversation about the DCEU, which is the DC Comics Extended Universe and those films. Kirkland, you're our DC guy. I never was crazy about DC. I like Batman. Like, I'd read some Batman stuff here and there when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Some of the animated movies are really good. But for me, I've always just been a Marvel guy. And I don't want this to be a strictly just
Marvel versus
crap
DC
all over
here.
DC because Marvel's so awesome. But you're the DC guy, so give us a few minutes of just about what it is about this universe that just grabbed a hold of you that you just really like.
Well, whenever I was a kid, when I think it wasn't too long. It was like a few years after I was born. Batman and Robin released on like VHS.
That is the worst starting
believe
point.
it or not, no, man.
Scratch it.
Whenever I was a little kid, that was my favorite movie.
Yeah,
because it had Robin, and I don't know why, but ever since I was like anything with Batman and Robin in it, Robin was always my favorite. I don't know why, but he always was, and I just really enjoyed it. I started watching Justice League as a little kid. Absolutely love that show. Have that on VHS as well. Super Friends. That was great. I never got into any of the animated Marvel stuff really ever.
I just don't remember there being a lot of animated Marvel stuff, though.
There was X-Men.
The X-Men was in the 90s, and it was really good.
Yeah.
As far as like 90s era cartoons go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Justice League is early 2000s.
Like
2002.
2000, I think.
Yeah,
actually.
2000, 2002.
Yeah, and I think wasn't the animated Superman show. Well,
that was okay. Well, you want to talk about the best animated probably TV
Batman
show.
the animated
Batman
series.
the animated series
Without
is
a doubt.
the best, and Superman came after that. I do believe.
yes, it did.
And I haven't watched any of that, but
It wasn't as successful.
I don't know. Well, I just don't find Superman or his stories or his characters really that compelling, I guess. I've just never been a huge fan of any of that story, but Batman I've always loved, and especially any story with Robin I really enjoyed. I grew up watching Batman the Animated Series. And so that's just really, whenever you're a kid, this is what you grow up with. This is what you do. You're into superheroes. Saying that as a stereotype, I just happen to fall into that stereotype. Not everybody is into superheroes, but I definitely was. Doing the whole dress up thing, all that good stuff as a kid. And so as I've gotten older, and Batman Begins came out in 2006, and this was the first Batman movie we seen since. Well, I want to say 96 is when Batman and Robin came out. Is that right?
Yeah, it was so bad that they were like, we can't make another one for 10 years.
Another 10 years before they decided to reboot this series. And again, I loved it, but I was 6 years old.
That's crazy.
So it was just another Batman superhero movie. Again, whenever Dark Knight came out, I was 8 years old whenever that came out. Dark Knight Rises, that was a long time.
2 years later.
2 years? I thought it was like 2013 or something whenever it came out.
No.
No? Okay, well, I suck.
I don't think so. I don't think it was, anyways.
And so, what else came around that time? DC.
As far as movies or like animation?
I mean, I think they followed up the Nolan movies pretty much. The Nolan movies were so huge, and Dark Knight came out the same summer as Iron Man. So the MCU was in full swing.
Yeah.
So as soon as the Nolan movies were done, that's when they signed on Zack Snyder to do Man of Steel, and then got the ball rolling on DCEU.
Yeah, and so like Isaac just kind of mentioned a little bit, I've always been a huge fan of
Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012.
Okay,
so
so
you were right.
4 years after Dark Knight.
Yeah. So that that kind of works with the storyline that they had with the time that passed in the movies. And so that was the same year that Avengers came out. and that was
that's right.
Yeah, that was the end of the trilogy for the Nolan films.
And like almost the very beginning of like what we have now is the MCU, pretty much.
Oh, well, definitely. Well, that was the first total accumulation of this universe that had been building. I've always been a huge fan of the animated movies. I've watched I'm pretty sure all of them, except for I tried to watch Batman Ninja, and there's not much more I hate now than anime. I watched Pokemon when I was a kid because I played Pokemon and was all the way into that. And I guess you could call Teen Titans anime.
Borderline.
That's very influenced by anime.
It's very Japanese culture.
And an American anime.
Well, it's influence, yeah.
Pointed chin, the big eyes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very extra.
And I grew up on that as well. So
Teen Titans was
that may have been why I liked Robin so much, because that was like
he was
on
a straight
TV
bad
whenever I was a kid and growing up. And so I tried to watch Batman Ninja, and I couldn't. I tried for I think 30 minutes. And I was like,
I need to try and watch it
because you like anime.
Well, because I like Dragon Ball Z. And when I was younger, I watched Naruto, and so like I appreciate anime. So
I just never got into any of that.
I have no idea what any of this stuff
Dragon Ball
you're
Z
talking about.
I don't think you're missing out. But
Dragon Ball Z is good. It's one of those things where it's kind of a niche thing. Like if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Well, back to like the DCU and everything. It's not DCU. Just DC movies. The Nolan films were unbelievably successful, and I think in 2006, I don't think people predicted Batman Begins to be as successful as it was, and I know we'll do a podcast on that movie someday, but I think that Marvel saw this because when did Last Stand come out?
X-Men?
That was like 2003 or 4.
I was younger.
It was like early 2000s.
Well, here's
Had
the deal
they made
about that.
a movie since?
That's still a Fox movie. It's not a Marvel
That's true.
movie.
Right.
You know.
Okay, but so not just Marvel movie. Marvel, like the Marvel company saw, okay, DC made this incredibly successful movie. They've got another one coming out. I guess they had to have. They didn't have very long to plan before they would have started filming and started producing Iron Man to have it released at the same time as Dark Knight.
See, but I don't think necessarily that the MCU looked
started because
I think they were I think they happened to be. Now there may have been some like underground thing where like, hey, we've got to release this movie after they do, and we're gonna have a race. But I think they were like, hey, it's time to start our Iron Man trilogy. Like I think the MCU has been planning this for a long time.
Had to have.
Because and you can see where the DCEU, which kind of skipping ahead a little bit.
The Nolan trilogies aren't a part of the DCEU.
Right, and so you can kind of see where now.
But they influence it.
Right, the DCEU
completely.
though is playing catch up to Marvel, like trying to push out stuff to catch releases and forcing the Justice League out on us and stuff like that.
That was jumping ahead a little bit of like where we're wanting to go with this. But yeah, like you said, I've been so excited about. Actually, I don't think I was very excited about Batman vs Superman because I was like, what? Okay, the last DC movie we had gotten was The Dark Knight Rises. You know, pretty solid conclusion. Like, you know, I didn't want to see the Nolan films in, like, because these were such incredible movies. By this time, you know, I'd gone back and see Batman Begins and Batman. Oh, it wasn't called Batman. It was just The Dark Knight, and been like, holy crap, this is a phenomenal movie. And then whenever they were rebooting it, you know, I was like, crap, like, you know, this iconic character who changed the way that people talk now with the Batman. What are you talking about? You know, like there's a lot to be said with how successful that was with, you know, just changing a culture there of, you know.
There are probably there's 22 MCU films out now.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, you could probably count up 10 of them and say, man, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
But
three DC.
Well, that's not what I'm getting at, but I don't know that any of those 10
are as good as the Dark Knight.
Maybe Winter Soldier, maybe Infinity War, but you have to have so much backstory to go right into Infinity War.
True.
And that's the pro and
I don't
the
know
con
if any of them are
movies.
still as. I mean, the Dark Knight is just so freaking good.
And I think the Dark Knight.
And I think we're
always
fixing to crap all over DCEU movies.
But I'm so
we
glad.
should give plenty of credit
Yes.
to those Nolan films.
Absolutely.
And I'm very glad that these Nolan films are not in conjunction with the DCU right now, because they're not associated with this horrible thing that's been created. And I'm saying
It's not all bad.
What is not bad?
I mean, we'll get into that.
Okay. But
Kirk does not have high levels of expectation for
like
DC.
you said at the beginning of this, I'm the DC guy. These are, these are the characters that I grew up with. These are the ones that I love and I follow. Of any of the comics that I have read, I haven't gotten much into the Marvel ones, but I do read the Batman ones whenever I can. Just because these stories are, I don't know, I just like them so much more.
I think where you're at now is kind of where I was with when the X-Men films came out.
Yeah, same.
'Cause when I was a kid, I was a big X-Men guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like read, that was who I read. I read Marvel, but I didn't read Captain America. I didn't read Iron Man. I read Wolverine and X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what was hot. That's what was going in the 90s. That's what the best creators worked on the X-Men books. The best artists were all on the X-Men books. Excuse me. But so when the first X-Men movie came out, it was all right. It was good for its time. It was like, holy crap, that was actually pretty good. Because we were coming off of, we hadn't even got to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies yet. Like, we're coming off Batman and Robin. Oh, great, here's another comic book
Another
movie.
comic book movie, yeah.
X2 came out. X2 was so freaking good. Like, you watch X2 and it's almost... Now, I'm not saying X2 is anything near as good as the Nolan films, but when you watch X2, the way they portrayed some of those characters, especially Wolverine, it's like they freaking got it. Like, this was awesome. And then The Last Stand came out, and I have never been so angry at a motion picture in my entire life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can kind of sympathize with where you're at now with a lot of this DC stuff.
Yeah, it's because I really, I mean, it goes to show for how incredible of a franchise the three Nolan films. We looked it up earlier, the highest grossing franchises. Nolan's films were at number 9, I think. And that was just 3 movies to gross so much money. If we're just talking about success in a financial and a monetary aspect, that goes, how much money
got nominated. Dark Knight got nominated for Best Picture.
Best Picture.
I don't give a crap about that. The Oscars. Mm-hmm. Heath Ledger won an Oscar.
Yeah. Best supporting actor.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't care about the Oscars, but that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it goes to show. I don't know how much they count for now, but it says something that this film did at least enough right that it got nominated for quite a prestigious award, considered a prestigious award. And so we come from off the Nolan trilogies into Man of Steel. And a lot of people had a lot of problems with Man of Steel, but I think just kind of with the tone of a lot of these animated movies that DC had created, I'm gonna like whenever we do the podcast on Man of Steel, because do y'all have a problem? Did y'all have a problem whenever Superman snapped his neck?
Nope.
No.
Whenever he killed that guy?
Zod.
That guy.
Yeah.
You had.
Fuck, I could not think of Zod. I've had some cognitive thought issues today. Superman doesn't kill people.
I didn't think that this was such a bad move for a movie because of with Zack Snyder's vision of what has set apart the DC from Marvel in a way is this kind of darker tone with things. I saw this as just a different story. almost a little bit different of a Superman, but telling a more human story of this had to be done. Zod had to.
I'm not saying that I dislike it because I do. I was like, Superman is wicked.
Just killed
What's he gonna do?
But that's kind of like the
Either Zod
superhero.
lasered this family or he snapped.
Right, and that's kind of like the superhero paradox is you don't ever kill your villains because then you can't be a superhero anymore, right?
And that's a whole thing we could talk about.
Bro,
As a DC fan, we want to talk about freaking Batman. You know how many people would be alive if he would have killed the Joker?
Batman's insane.
That's gonna be fun.
So,
That should be
but
just a misfire
Superman
episode.
traditionally we have like you hear Superman and you think blue suit, red S, and you think he is literally like the goodest of the good guys,
Boy Scout.
like
The goodest
of the good guys. And for him to come out and just snap Zod's neck, honestly, I mean, after a fight, and Zod was literally fixing to obliterate an entire like.
He didn't want to do it either.
No, you saw after
Right,
how
right.
like this dude was about to kill a family and he killed him to save this family and he hated himself
Right.
in that moment that he killed someone.
Let me say this. I think a lot of this preconceived ideas of what a superhero should be is influenced from what comic books were like from the 60s up until, I don't know, towards the end of the 90s or the 2000s. Because in the 60s, a lot of people would read them and they would flip out and they would be like, oh, it's witchcraft or just
He killed somebody.
for real, like
Yeah.
look it up. So they established what they called the Comics Code Authority, which was a certain set of guidelines, and a lot of retailers would not sell your books if they weren't approved by the Comics Code Authority. So Marvel and DC, everything they did was approved by that standard, right? When we got up to a certain point sometime around 2000, I think. I'm not sure because I wasn't reading comic books at that point. But they said, screw it, we're not going by that anymore. We're going to tell more
We're gonna tell stories
adult-themed stories. We're going to tell the stories our creators want to tell and our fans want to hear.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people that would say, Batman can still tell adult stories and not kill people. But a lot of people, they have that idea of, well, this is what Superman would never do that.
Yeah.
Well, if he didn't have a bunch of freaking prudes and housewife mothers in the 60s that were scared of what little Johnny was reading,
Yeah.
telling them what they needed to put in those books, we wouldn't even have these ideas about Superman.
Yeah.
So I had no problem at all with him snapping necks
And that kind of fits along too, like the superhero where Joker kills Lois Lane, and he loses his mind and becomes like, well, he basically rules Earth.
Yeah.
As Superman. And so I like that side of that side of realism too. I thought it was kind of funny that, like, you know, we have Batman who never kills anybody, obviously, and then Superman's just like, well, there's one villain down, you know, like,
Yeah.
we're out,
And,
peace out.
And again, talking about heroes who don't kill people.
Here's
Batman
another
versus
thing.
Superman.
Well, here's another thing though, like, and we might want to save this for the Man of Steel pod, but like, Zod was just as strong as Superman.
Right.
So a big theme in Batman versus Superman is, what if we have this, I mean, almost a deity floating around? What if he did decide to just freak out?
And that's where it comes in.
Because Zod would have done it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
If
And-
Zod would have killed Superman, end of human civilization.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he would have, like, he was trying to, like, terraform Earth
Right.
into
New
what
Krypton.
Into a new
Krypton was.
Krypton.
Yeah.
And that's another weird thing of Superman has these powers because he's been on Earth and soaking up the Earth's radiation for 30-something years. Zod gets there for like a few hours.
And he's like...
He's as strong as... That's might be nitpicky and better safe for the pod. But... And so going into Batman versus Superman off of Man of Steel... Did we get Man of Steel 2 before Batman versus Superman?
We haven't.
There
got
is
a
no Man of Steel 2.
Oh, shoot. I thought
It was Batman versus Superman.
But before we
Yeah.
move on, let's just talk about Man of Steel a little bit. You want to?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't seen it in a while.
I, for one, thought Man of Steel was a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked, you know, the stuff at Krypton was kind of crazy at the beginning, but we had never seen that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to get just an idea of, may have been Zack Snyder's idea, but still just somebody saying, hey, here's what Krypton was like. Like, I didn't know.
Did we get any of that in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies?
Not really.
No. Because I've seen those, but I cannot. I've only seen them once and haven't cared to go back and watch them again.
Those are my
Yeah.
mom's favorite superhero. Like, she thinks of Superman. She's like, Christopher Reeve was the best Superman. I'm like, okay, Mom, whatever.
Have you seen Mr. Cavill? Get out.
But no, I think the most we got in those movies was like, it's crazy because I think like Charlton Heston played his dad, which is wild. Excuse me. But we see him getting put in the ship and getting sent to Earth, and that's and then he has some scenes with him in the Fortress of Solitude where he puts the crystals in there and talks to his pappy and all that. But just even the stuff when he was a kid, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because
mean, pulling
imagine
the bus
if you're
out
a
of the
freaking-
out of the creek or the river or whatever, and then
Yeah.
But
What are you so giggly for?
What we always talk about, like 20 years in the future, all those
Oh,
kids
yeah.
like us were like, do you guys remember when Clark pulled the bus out of the river? Do you think that could be him flying around? No, couldn't be Clark.
Nah, man.
Couldn't be Clark.
whereas
That Clark guy's got glasses.
They're in
Superman
Indiana,
doesn't wear
ain't
glasses.
Kansas.
Kansas.
Smallville,
that's right.
Kansas.
My
Smallville,
bad.
Kansas.
I should have known that.
DC.
But it's like that's all the way in New York.
Clark still lives around here.
I wonder if Clark's Kent has a guy.
Anyways.
But I thought it was a really good movie. I mean, I really like Man of Steel. So,
I guess first time I
What
saw
y'all
it, I was slightly shocked because the picture of Superman I had was from the Christopher Reeves one, but mostly from Justice League.
The animated series.
They call him Boy Scout. I don't know how many times in that movie.
Yeah.
In that whole series, because he doesn't kill people. He's always
Well, he's
has to
super
do
good,
the
like-
right thing. Yeah. And so, holy crap, we're getting this guy who's flying around, beating this other dude up, taking buildings down. He just snapped his neck.
We definitely saw a more like superhuman side of Superman, because everybody knows Superman can fly, he has laser vision, he can, has frost breath, but we don't ever really see him like, getting thrown through buildings or like punching somebody through a building. Like,
Yeah, and so
and it was just kind of like, for me, like, because I don't know that I ever watched the Christopher Reeve Supermans until after maybe I watched Man of Steel.
oh really? Wow.
So because I just didn't care, honestly, I don't
Yeah.
think so. Like, really, the only point of reference
Do
I
you want to
had-
watch a movie where the physics
right?
extend as far as I'm gonna fly back into space, fly around the Earth a few
Exactly.
times, and it's gonna bring back time.
you
because
can
that's
do
how
that?
it
Right.
works.
And so
Yeah, man. Turn back time. It's
so
the best
really,
thing ever.
my
Oh, shit.
only point of reference was Justice League, and so kind of the same thing. Like, okay, it's Superman. He's Superman. and
Super good.
He is going to be able to just smack anybody around, and then
Oh, yeah.
you have Zod who flies in and is literally as strong as Superman instantly. And I was like, well, this is an interesting take. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
And it made me pretty excited for like DC movies. It's like, man, we have all these good Marvel movies, and now we're gonna have all these good DC movies.
Yeah, Man of
then-
Steel came out in 2013. So we had Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Thor, Avengers,
Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2. Did we have Thor 2 at this
We
point?
were about to get Thor 2, I think. It was
Okay.
close to somewhere in there.
Anyways, there's a lot of Marvel stuff going on here whenever they decide to reboot the DCEU. And this is 1 year after Avengers. The biggest movie, well, second biggest movie. Still nothing has beaten Avatar as most money made, correct? I'm pretty
Correct.
sure.
Correct.
I don't know.
I think
still
Avatar
think-
still is the highest grossing.
It's either
Yeah.
Avatar or Infinity War.
I think it's still Avatar.
Infinity,
Or maybe
it's,
Black Panther's up there too.
nah, it hasn't made as much. But, and so coming off of this, I think they rebooted the series because they saw, I think DCU saw the success of Marvel and decided, okay, this is what we need to do. And so with
After Man of Steel?
No,
that's where Man of Steel came
where
about.
Man of Steel was created,
right.
because this is a year after the Avengers. They had finished the Nolan trilogy the year before.
Yeah.
And so they let Nolan finish his trilogy before they were gonna reboot or start this whole thing up.
Well, I'd heard somewhere, I think I was listening to a Dark Knight Rises podcast, but they were going to start sooner. But Dark Knight came out, and it was so good, and it made so much money. They were like, hey, we're going to let him finish this up.
Yeah,
then we'll get rolling.
Yeah. So
That was pretty chivalrous with them.
when did Green Lantern come out?
I don't have any idea.
We shouldn't even talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll
The only
come up.
movie worse than Green Lantern is Green Hornet.
You know what the best thing? I've never even watched Green Hornet.
Hey, don't waste your time, bro.
Who would have guessed that a superhero movie starring Seth Rogen wouldn't be any good? The best thing to come out of Green Lantern was the after credit scene in Deadpool 2.
Yeah, no doubt.
That movie, sitting through that crappy movie, was totally worth that 10 seconds at the end of Deadpool 2.
You didn't like Deadpool 2?
No, it
he's
was
talking about
worth
Green
it.
Lantern being a crappy movie.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
the
what
way
I
you
mean.
said it sounded
Like,
like I sat
understanding
through this
why
crappy
that credit
movie
was
just
funny.
so I could see that.
Deadpool-
Sitting through Green Lantern, knowing how much it sucked, was worth
Watching
that.
Deadpool kill Ryan
10
Reynolds.
seconds in Deadpool.
And so
This is it, kid. You finally made it. Click.
And so they let him finish that out. Green Lantern came out in 2011. So this was before
Dark Knight. It was
Dark Knight Rises.
between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
People have forgot about Green Lantern, man.
It's a good
But
thing.
at the time, nobody was connecting them.
No.
It was just a Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
Right. Did it even have the DCEU tag in it?
Probably not.
Okay, whatever. But
I don't think that started till Batman versus Superman.
Oh, it may not have.
and so they let Nolan finish his movies and are like, okay, we have to do a Justice League movie. Because what comic book wise, what has been more successful, Avengers or Justice League?
Whoa.
As far as like total, I would think
Popularity.
Don't get me lying.
Man, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because especially in the early 80s, late 70s and early 80s, Marvel's big books were Avengers, Fantastic Four. Spider-Man was always the biggest.
Yeah.
But
But then he started teaming up
X-Men
with...
didn't really catch on till like the mid to late 80s. And then it blew up in the 90s. But that period before then, it was a lot of this... Because that's when we got, Fantastic Four was pretty big, but that's when Infinity Gauntlet and all that stuff came out. It was like 82 or 83, I think.
Okay.
So it was pretty big. I don't think Justice League... we just watched that little documentary.
Yeah.
We just finished watching Justice League, unfortunately. But there was a
hour
little
and a
10-minute
half
documentary on there just about kind of the history of the books and where it led up to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, it was sometime in the late 90s before they put those seven, they call them the Big Seven, which is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Martian Manhunter,
Aquaman.
It was sometime in the 90s before they put all them together.
Oh, wow.
So I would say that Avengers was always bigger than Justice League.
Okay. So, but I don't know.
Not to say Justice League was irrelevant or anything.
Yeah.
Like that.
I'm thinking. I guess if we're talking about just the characters, Justice League, DC characters, more popular than
I think more
than
iconic.
Marvel.
Or they have been
More
in
recognizable is Batman and Superman.
Top four
Spider-Man.
superheroes.
Superman. I'd
Batman.
probably say Batman. Spider-Man.
I'd probably say Wolverine.
Well, now I don't know how popular Wolverine what has been throughout the years. Definitely like early 2000s for sure. Wolverine.
So 4 is debatable, but definitely
Top 3 is not
Superman,
debatable.
Batman, Spider-Man, by far. And so we have our Batman movies. Well, let's do Superman movies. Holy crap! Avengers has completely wrecked everything.
Changed the game.
Just completely changed what movie expectation, like what a successful movie is like. You make a superhero movie. I mean, if that okay, if you're an actor, what do you want? You want a role in a Marvel movie, not a DC one, because we'll get to it. But you want a role in a Marvel movie. No matter who you are, you're gonna blow up pretty quickly because your name is attached to one of the most successful movie franchises.
Unless you're the guy who plays Falcon.
Jeremy,
I think he's good. Sam
what's his
Washington.
Name?
No,
Something like
Sam. That,
we
don't even
that's
know.
his name in the
movie. That's Falcon's real name. Yeah.
See.
Okay. By the way, the guy who plays M'Baku in Black Panther is the guy who is the dad.
That dude put on some weight, man.
Weight,
he was munching on some freaking pizza and some cheese dip.
Yeah, he was.
Don't talk bad about my boy M'Baku.
M'Baku.
Wait till you see him in Us.
It's
Is that
hilarious.
who that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Good movie. Moving on.
We chased a lot of rabbits.
I was pretty excited coming off of Superman. Well, Man of Steel, because like this is a story that Marvel isn't telling. It
was different.
It's different. And so that's not to say that it's going to be.
We hadn't had a good Superman movie in like
Ever
since
20, 30
Superman
years.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was in the 80s, right?
We had Superman 3, Superman 4, and we had Superman Returns. They all freaking sucked.
I've seen Superman Returns. Okay, so I have seen some of them.
Yeah.
Superman Returns is an awful
Yeah,
movie.
it should be called Superman Picks Stuff Up. He doesn't fight anything.
That's all it is. He just
flies around and picks stuff up. He picks up a big boat. He picks up a big planet. Has a kid in there apparently.
Planet.
That movie sucks. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
And so, seeing the success of the Avengers movies, as a company, owning the rights to these characters who could have just as equally a successful franchise, thinking, okay, this is the story we're telling right now. We need to get something to Justice League, the same arc that MCU has been building for 4 years, starting with Iron Man and progressing forward. Why did they do Batman versus Superman? Why? Who wanted Batman versus Superman?
Right, and kind of like I know my frustration as a lot of other people's was, our reference point for Batman at this point, Batman versus Superman, is Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Right. That Batman, that Alfred, that
darker,
right? That Gotham.
Yeah.
Which nobody was upset with, and Christian Bale for whatever reason decided he didn't want to do Batman anymore or something. Whatever, how all that went down, which is fine. So we get Ben Affleck, who potentially could have been an okay Batman. But we have no reference point of who Ben Affleck is as Batman. And so...
I don't know that we need that.
Okay, no, not so much as we need another origin, but we do need to know who this character is. Because in this one, he's killing people. He's branding people.
That's weird.
This is a different Batman.
Out of left field.
And the only thing that we see that could explain a little bit of this is a Robin costume that has Joker and ha ha ha. Most people assume, and I would assume as well, that that's Jason Todd, and this is after Death in the Family, the most popular, comic book, and that was a decision made by readers to kill off Jason Todd because
we needed a catalyst.
They didn't like him as much as Dick Grayson, and they were upset by that.
True.
But
which is so savage. Thanks, Batman fans.
Way to go.
So this Batman is heavily influenced by the Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Yeah.
And that dude he's old, he's about to die, he's fed up, he's tired of crap. He's not pulling any punches anymore. Like he's like, I've only got one more chance to get my mission done. That's what I'm going to do.
Right.
The big fight towards the end of that miniseries is him versus Superman. So that's where a lot of that came from. That's what got so many people excited. I can remember the Comic-Con where they announced that because, like, it may have been on the same day, but within a day or two of each other, they announced Captain America: Civil War. Everybody freaked out.
Lost their minds.
Like a day later or later in the day, I can't remember, they announced Batman versus Superman. Everybody freaked out. So
So people did want this movie.
Well, like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not saying I don't hate Batman vs Superman as a movie. I just didn't like as an idea.
Yeah.
The movie
This
itself
could have been. Okay, so if you want to take the little beginning of Avengers, when we have our characters come together, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, they all have a little bit of a scuffle, a little bit
like,
of a
they're
brawl.
testing each other out.
Well, that I wouldn't say testing each other out. They're just coming together.
Right.
Captain America and Iron Man are like, who the F is this guy coming
yeah,
in and smashing stuff.
They've Loki gave himself up, and they have Loki in custody, kind of.
I.e.
And
Thor.
then Thor shows up, and he's like, "I'm taking my brother. I'm out."
Yeah, and so that's a problem. And so
Yeah.
that's where you get these characters coming together in this way. And so Batman versus Superman could have been basically a drawn out version of that. Like it could have been, a lot different, but they, I don't know, might have went a little too far with the darkness of he was going to kill Superman. And Superman was going to kill Batman.
Well, and like we always know, like Batman, because of who he is as a character, always is prepared to like put Superman down. Like that's always been a trademark. As soon as the Justice League
One
is
of the
formed.
best animated movies is Doom.
Right.
Bro.
So, but
And they're all like mad at him. And it's like, listen, Amazon, you are super strong. You can fly. You have invincible bracelets. You have a lasso of truth. Flash, you can run really fast. Green Lantern, you have a ring that can create anything if you think about it. Martian Manhunter, you're a shapeshifter and alien, pretty much invincible,
Can do anything.
super strong. Superman, kind of the same thing, except for you can't go invisible and change
but
what
he
you
doesn't
look like.
need
And you have laser
to
beams and
because
frost
he's
breath.
Superman.
And so he's like, I have nothing except for my brain, and I know how to take out every single one of you. If any of y'all
Mess up.
mess
It's
up,
over with.
not mess up, but any of y'all get out of line, there has to be something in
Right.
place to. We're about to go off on a podcast for Doom, but and so,
Like a safety net almost.
yeah.
And so, but I think with Batman vs Superman, like you said, they went like the next level because Batman wasn't like, "Hey, I'm gonna pitch this message to Superman. If he doesn't agree, then we'll take it outside." It's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to Metropolis and I'm fixing to kill Superman with this kryptonite."
Yeah.
And so, like, there was no like, if Superman gets out of line, it's like Superman's out of line, he's got to go.
Yeah.
Like, and so I just kind of didn't understand. I was like, Superman hasn't done anything bad. Like he didn't,
He knocked one of his buildings down.
Right.
He killed a lot of his employees.
but not
and
intentionally.
thousands of other people.
But so did Zod. So I mean,
Yeah.
And so it was collateral damage, and I get that aspect of it.
Wow.
But it does come back to that thing of we have this pretty much to humans. He's almost like a deity. You
Right.
know, this all powerful
An
being
Which is
power.
what Batman is
that
not afraid of, but
all he has to do
understands.
is change his mind and
Right.
or wake up on a bad day and just be like, I'm about to wreck some stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's what Batman saw because at the beginning of Batman vs Superman, we get pretty much the end of Man of Steel of
from Bruce Wayne's perspective.
this is a guy who's fighting on the right side against Zod, who's trying to take over destroy the world, and this is what's happening. This dude has to be kept in check.
Right.
And so do we should have watched Batman vs Superman again to see if we got the answer of why Batman decided to kill him. Because almost like not that collateral damage is acceptable, but
There was something else that happened.
something else that happened that pushed him over, right?
Well,
Oh, it's when the suicide bomber blew up the courtroom and nobody knew that it wasn't Superman. And
That's
because Luthor sent that guy in the wheelchair,
In the wheelchair
that was from
exploded everything.
that was from Wayne Tech. And Batman just knew that the building exploded and Superman walked out, and so everybody was like, "Oh, Superman killed him."
I think it was just kind of like a culmination.
culmination of everything that had happened.
Yeah, to where he,
Yeah.
He was just fed up.
And this is the Batman who's in the mindset of I'm killing people now.
Right,
Like,
it's not worth
I
it.
have to put a stop to these people to these bad people.
I think where that movie really went wrong is it started out dark. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any problem with Bruce Wayne at the beginning of Batman versus Superman. But you go from that, then it gets even darker with the guy that lost his legs.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that the same guy that climbs up the Superman statue?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, same dude. Mm-hmm. And then it gets even darker when they blow up the freaking Capitol building or whatever during that hearing. And I mean, it starts out kind of and it just keeps going and going and going.
Where it's almost like, holy crap! What are we even watching superhero stuff anymore?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have had the same problem with the new Titans TV show that's come out that I've watched, and I have some problems with it. But this is a hardcore show that I think DC looked at Marvel, looked at Daredevil, looked at Luke Cage.
I think they looked at the Nolan films
for Titans.
I think you could be right.
Because
you could be right about that.
Yeah, because I see Titans and what they're saying and what they're doing and the way the violence is in that movies, and I see a lot of Punisher. Yeah. I see a lot of Daredevil. Iron Cage was pathetic.
Iron Fist.
No, Iron Cage. Luke Cage I liked. Jessica Jones was pretty good.
Iron Fist was.
He used his Iron Fist like twice. What even is he? What even is he?
Yeah. I haven't watched season 2. Did they do season 2?
Yeah, they did season 2. I haven't watched it. They've canceled it all.
None of them have any more seasons. So
what that's all going into because Disney's going to start a
Disney
premium
Plus,
streaming service and they're going to start movies
garbage.
Up there.
Anyways.
And so that's a problem that a lot of people have with this new Titans TV show is that it's way too dark. Robin said the F word. You know? Like, oh.
Kiss your mother with that mouth?
Exactly. No, his mom's dead.
Oh.
We're going to cut that.
No, we're not.
We're not.
We're leaving it.
No, we're not.
Oh, dear Lord.
That was so perfect.
Well, what I meant when I said they're going after the Nolan films is the Nolan films really grounded the Batman story in realism.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of what they try to do with the DC universe.
Yeah.
Here's my go ahead.
But just and a lot like I was saying, a lot of people are having problems with this darker tone, but what's your problem? You don't want a story that faces with a lot more realism and because there's a lot of themes that are faced in that show I'll save it for a podcast, but you know, why are you rejecting the story because it doesn't fit exactly
it's not cookie cutter.
What your expectation of what these characters are because my vision of Robin is the one I get from Teen Titans.
Very jaded, very serious, very like we'll kick your face in.
Well,
but somebody else's vision of Robin
book.
could be Burt Ward off the 60s Batman show.
Yeah. With his green tights.
Yeah. Or Chris O'Donnell's Batman and Robin.
With
the nipple suits.
Get him, Bruce.
Go get him, Bruce. And so, and again, like we established at the beginning, like DC has my favorite characters. This isn't quite the character that we're seeing, but I enjoy these characters. I want to see a different kind of story. You want to go stupid dark and give me something I haven't seen before? I don't have a problem with that. I'm very interested to see what you're going to create. And a lot of people are turned off by this Batman versus Superman level of darkness. Now, again, might have gone a little overboard, but this is still a different story that's being told. You kind of have to, you don't even kind of have to. You have to disconnect yourself from this preconceived notion that this is my character.
Right.
Hashtag, not my Superman. Hashtag, not my Batman. You kind of have to let that go and allow these creators to create these movies for the screen that, they're being, paid to create and giving us something different that hasn't been done before. I'm thinking of like I don't know a whole lot of like the Marvel comics of like how off those are the movie adaptations of the comic book characters. I don't know because I don't know much of those comics, but
What Marvel did, especially with Avengers, and I don't know how they're going to integrate X-Men into the MCU universe, but really what they did is they didn't just stick hardcore to the origins of these characters, because a lot of them were created in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I think in the 2000s sometimes, maybe in the late 90s, they came out with the Ultimate line, which is they would retell characters' origins, but they would give them like a darker, a more realistic,
Adults.
kind of adult themed. They would tell more adult themed stories.
Yeah, and well,
in ways, but they were still superhero books. But what Marvel did is they took the best of the old stuff, they took the best of the Ultimate stuff, and they just put it together to tell the best story they thought they could tell.
Right.
And it, as you can obviously tell,
it worked.
They've done a really
wildly
great
successful
job.
With DC. You look at these origins. Batman's family was murdered in front of him. Superman, he was a baby. His entire planet exploded. That, the two most popular characters ever. Those are incredibly dark, beginnings.
Think about Superman. Think about, like, him doing the different jobs at the beginning of Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. This dude has been an outsider
his
whole life. And then when he becomes a hero and is publicly known, all of a sudden he's like put into this role that there's no way he could be ready for.
No.
Well, and then too, that I just had a thought, kind of backtracking. Superman has never seen another Kryptonian save his hologram weird AI father, right? Mm-hmm. The only Kryptonians he's ever seen are Zod and his little ragtag team, and he kills Zod. Like he's
for all he knows his planet exploded, and
right.
that the race is
in
dead.
Superman's mind, he's like, we're the last two Kryptonians. Bam, gone, dead. You have to think that he thought about that.
Of course, he had some backstory on Zod from his dad.
Yeah,
so he kind of knew, like, if I don't do this,
but still, at the same time,
the end of the
last person who understands
race,
you, the last person who saw your planet, you
have to kill this guy. How do you tell a happy story about that?
Yeah. Right,
and so. Not that obviously Marvel is doing nothing wrong, because the box office, goes very well to show for it. But I think, and it's not that they're avoiding these darker tales or these darker stories, but these are not dark movies. Look at India, you get a little bit dark with like Civil War, and we find out that, what's his face?
I'm thinking about.
Yeah, can we talk about the Captain America's homie killed Iron Man's parents and then got mad at Iron Man?
I'm thinking about Thor talking about all the bad stuff that happened to him in Infinity War, and it just rolls right. Yeah, like my father just died. My brother
died, but he didn't really.
I just met my sister. She destroyed my hammer, and then I had to kill her. And then we just killed my entire home world.
And I'm pretty sure my brother died, but for real this time.
Yeah, it's just.
But I'm doing great.
Yeah, but he just like rolls right through it, and then he's like, "Oh, what can you do?"
Also, Thor is literally a god. So.
And
so let's because we got
back to DCEU.
Let's Batman versus Superman.
Third act.
Up until
even the first act wasn't too great.
Up until Martha, did you like it?
Martha.
I don't know. I think we should Batman versus Superman. We should have had a Batman movie before BV Superman, because you're introducing a new Batman. And it's not the one that we saw.
New, more hardcore Batman.
Exactly. And it's not the one that we've seen in the Nolan trilogies. You have to explain this character. Why is Batman branding people? You kind of need to go a little bit more in depth with that when we're coming off of the Nolan, the Nolan Batman. And so, you're trying to fit some of this,
and there was a little
Batman
bit
versus
of an
Superman
origin story,
which we don't need everybody.
Right,
and that's something that Homecoming got right. Holy crap, we've seen Spider-Man, his origin twice. Everybody knows it. we don't need to see it again. That was a good move.
Yeah, Aunt May has one line about since your uncle's been gone.
Yeah, and
that was it.
And I think that was a miss for the movie. They could have gone more into that because holy crap.
Hashtag that's my anime.
Oh, never mind.
No, she ain't.
Whatever. But dang, you done threw me all off track here.
Well, you're welcome.
Oh shoot.
Backstory.
Backstory. Okay, origin story. With Batman, you know, we had that one weird scene, which Jeffrey Dean Morgan, if there's ever a Flashpoint Paradox movie, which I think there should be, because that would be awesome. Jeffrey Dean Morgan be a perfect Thomas Wayne.
Absolutely.
Anyways, that was a great animated movie. Anyways, we need a little bit more of
That dude's so skinny. I'm sorry.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes. You ever see him in Walking Dead?
Oh well,
Walking
Walking
Dead
Dead
he
is
is.
different.
His
For Walking
freaking
Dead, he is.
pants are falling off. He's so skinny.
Have you
It's
ever
like,
seen him in
dude,
Supernatural?
Get
He's
a belt.
He's a freaking monster.
But with we need to know more about
Like I said,
Batman.
about this Batman.
About this Batman. And so I think with BV Superman, you know, we could have not. I guess we basically could have ignored everything that happened in Man of Steel for the Batman introduction movie, and then whenever Batman, like the Batman introduction movie could have ended with, you know, the first scene we get from Batman versus Superman of you know, like he's holding that girl
Right.
and this towers fall. Like that would have been a pretty solid, or like post credit scene. That would have been great to go into Batman versus Superman. This is how we're getting these two characters connected. Okay, and then
establishing
moving
kind of
forward.
that like hate, or
Like at the
animosity
end,
towards.
at the end of Justice League, the end credit, they're trying to bring Deathstroke. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Him and Lex Luthor together. Why didn't you do the Batman Deathstroke movie before Batman versus Superman?
Yeah. And Isaac and I talked about this earlier. A lot of people hate the Arkham Origins video game for some reason, because that's a great movie. And I don't think a trailer for a video game has ever got me more hyped than that trailer, because the fight scene between Deathstroke and Batman
It's hard freaking core, man.
It's crazy. And so that's an insane story that you can tell with these pretty much evenly matched characters.
Right.
You know, like that's a really good movie that you can make out of Deathstroke and Batman. So that could have been an introduction movie. You know, I don't know how that could have played into, you know, Justice League, because in Iron Man we don't get you know, our villain yet. We just get introduction to Avengers. Avengers. Nick Fury comes and talks about the Avengers Initiative. Thor, we get a glimpse because we see an Infinity Stone. What does Infinity Stone mean? Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah,
Thanos,
we're kind of like putting things
Infinity
together.
War. You know, as these movies progress, we get better of an idea. But that would have been all we needed from, like, Man of Steel. Maybe a little snippet. Like, just a one little in-credit scene.
I'll save this for the end, but I mean, I've just got like a basic idea. Well, I'll just say it now. Here's the deal. Marvel is telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's evolved.
11 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're telling one
Right.
really good continuous story. DC, they're making movies. They're making movies to make money. There's your difference.
Okay, but the problem is, and I guess this is, you know, we're an hour in, but we're getting to kind of the biggest meat of the conversation, is the problem that DC has. They had to have looked at the success of the Avengers and been like, we have to make a Justice League movie. Why did they not see that they created Iron Man, then the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor? You know, they created all this to Avengers.
Well,
then after Avengers, we
Because
we got
Snyder
sequels.
told him he could pull it off, and he didn't.
And one of the things that we literally just talked about, what we were so upset with Justice League, was there was no Big Seven. And,
Yes.
And the Justice League,
There's a lot more problems than that.
I know, but as far as like
Hashtag not my Justice League.
right, as like structurally,
Cyborg's not in there. Put him in a team. Make a Teen
right?
Titans movie.
Okay,
Put him in that.
Cyborg goes through so much, and we don't see Cyborg get in the Justice League until Young Justice. Right? Is that Young
Oh,
Justice? where he gets into the Justice League, and they go through all the testing, and that's a whole different thing.
Well, with the New 52 storyline, Cyborg was brought in to be a part of the Justice League, but that's neither
here nor there.
That's with the newer comics,
right? So traditionally,
not the big set.
Traditionally, Cyborg is a Teen Titan.
Yeah,
and that's a totally different. We need a Teen Titans
in that
movie.
TV show. Everyone's so well placed. Whatever.
And so, but we don't have in Justice League. We have a goofy Flash, whatever, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Okay, those 4 are great.
We're
Let's do this when we get to Justice League.
Podcast.
No.
Talking about it in this.
Yeah, okay. Let's wrap up Batman versus Superman.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I thought we were done with Batman versus Superman.
So Batman versus Superman. Just kind of final thoughts. I'm gonna say this. I liked Bruce Wayne at the beginning of that movie. That is as good as that character has been in this universe. From there to now, it's just steadily got worse. I liked the movie up until the Martha part. The Martha.
You can say the same with Superman. I enjoyed the character at the beginning, and I do not like him now.
But I think he's had a lot slower decline than Batman, though. He's not went downhill as fast as Bruce Wayne.
I don't know. I would argue
Batman.
I would argue I like Superman less now than I do Batman.
Really?
I don't know. So much because they don't. Batman is worthless in Justice League.
Yeah.
And in the TV show, he wasn't. He was doing something, and the way they wrote it was he always had something to do because as the guy with no powers, what are you supposed to do? And so
there were times
they didn't just give him crap jobs to do.
There were times too when he would be like, "Listen, you are going off into space or whatever. I'm not going to be useful up there, so I'm going to go do this."
Right,
like he would go on a side quest. He'd just be like, they'd be like, "Where are you going?" He'd be like, "I'm more useful doing this."
Yeah, But what he was doing was incredibly important.
Right. Yeah.
And really, only something that Batman could have done. There's a lot of stuff that Batman has to do that Superman can't because Superman is what? Really strong,
not subtle,
really fast. Period.
How does Superman even open a Coke can?
That's all part of that comes from
sodas are bad for your body, son. He doesn't drink them.
Right. That's what
That's a Captain America
back to
you're like
that's
an equivalent
awesome.
Boy Scout.
Back to
so you waited all this time.
Back to Man of Steel. Yo, when we had
that's the problem I have with Homecoming.
Let's keep going. Keep going.
Yo, whatever. Just forget about all that mess. Batman versus Superman, I think had potential to be a really good movie because that's iconic, almost like no powers, all the powers. Let's duke it out, and they miss a lot of opportunities. Like there was no build up. There wasn't. It was very just rushed and hurried, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, because in one movie we get the hatred of I'm gonna kill this other person.
Out of nowhere. What? Because they knocked down one of your buildings, you're like a trillionaire. Who cares?
I get that. My problem is, he said, after the Martha thing, it's just like, he flips on a dime. Yes, he's telling Wonder, like 2 minutes later, he's telling Wonder Woman, like, I'll do whatever I have to do.
Yeah.
And it's
tells her that.
You were just trying to kill him.
You were about to literally kill him.
He's about to die.
You do not know
because
anything else.
He's weakened because of what you did to him.
Like, you don't even know that Martha is his mother. I don't think Batman knows that.
Yeah.
Right?
He just knows the name Martha.
He just knows that. He said Martha.
Poop.
So getting ready for this podcast, I read a thing that said Zack Snyder thought about making Martha Wayne and Martha Kent the same person.
No, what?
Like Martha Kent.
That's not real.
It's on the internet, bro.
Okay.
Martha Kent or Martha Wayne, they thought she died, but she actually went into witness relocation and ended up in Smallville, Kansas.
And married somebody else?
So, I swear, I'll send you the article. Moving on. Okay.
I've lost all what little respect I had for the DCEU right there. Gone.
I never had any.
That's great.
That's so stupid, bro. That's literally stupid.
So I guess my final thoughts with Batman versus Superman, again, kind of the same thing. Wasn't crazy. I can imagine I can remember being pretty hyped for it because, we're getting a new Batman. We're getting a brawl. Anytime you see two superheroes or two characters come together, it's probably going to be pretty awesome. And I was just incredibly let down because I can remember, I'm pretty sure I verbally said, "What?" Whenever he said, "Why did you say that name?" What? Because that is something that I don't even think that I would have come up with.
A third grader could have wrote that.
A third grade had to have, because you're telling a story. All right, these characters can't kill each other. How are we going to reconcile it? Let's have Superman say Martha.
Their moms are both named Martha.
Save Martha.
But Batman, like we said, doesn't know who Superman's Martha is. Like he could have just been that could have been some Kryptonian word for mercy. Nobody knows. Stupid.
So yeah, I was really let down by that. And man, again, it could have just been so much better all around. Yeah. I think it would have been a phenomenal movie, because the biggest thing of it was they had a lot. This was a 2.5 hour movie, if I remember.
Yeah.
They had so much story to tell. We're introduced to a Batman who's drastically different and darker than Nolan's, and we're trying to fit this into a 2.5 hour movie, and trying to tell this whole other incredibly dark story at the same time. We don't get enough of either. And that's the biggest problem with Batman versus Superman, is that it's dark, but that's not a problem, but there's not enough of the story that needs to be told.
There's a lot of assumed context.
And that can be good and bad, but this is...
Yeah, you don't have to spell out every single little detail.
This is a Batman that people are unfamiliar with. We hear Batman, what's his one rule? He doesn't kill people. He's killed a lot of people in this movie. You have to explain that for the people who aren't familiar with, the Dark Knight Returns movies, or familiar with the Death in the Family, of what that one weird scene of, why did we see that Robin costume that had all the ha-ha-ha's on it? It made sense to me, and I understood this Batman, but I was still it
didn't have a place.
No. And They had to have explained it a lot better, and they just didn't. I think the solution would have been an introductory Batman movie, because again, if you're wanting to play off of the profits of Marvel, which you as a company, you have to see the Avengers, and you have to be like, you know what, we pretty much have the same characters to do this. Not the same characters, but the same
capacity,
materials to use to create just as successful as a franchise. You have to build your characters first with Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, and then we get Avengers. They were rushing everything to try and match what Marvel was creating, but you can't do that, because when you look at Marvel and what they've created, if you're gonna match that, you have to match the stories that are being told, and you don't tell the story that needs to be told, that'll lead you into Justice League, that'll make the Justice League movie what it should be, just as Avengers was. The movies that Marvel made leading into the Avengers were the movies that Marvel needed to make Avengers what it was, and that's what made it so successful. And DC, for whatever reason, decided to skip over that and was like, okay, if we just make this movie, they'll love it as much as the Avengers.
Mm-hmm. They'll still pay to see it.
That will pay to see it, but you're gonna. I just don't understand where that made sense to anybody, because if you look at it and you have to see this is where the success is, you can't cut corners with that.
Right. The last thing I'll say about it, the Batman versus Superman story took a lot of ideas from the Dark Knight Returns miniseries. Mm-hmm. And that Batman, they spent...
That was a 2-part movie.
Well, I'm talking about the comic book, the series. they spent 10 episodes building that Batman before he fought Superman. Or 10 issues, whatever. They built up to that. There was context in that fight. That's why it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Here, they tried to use this to lead into different things.
Complete lack
Instead
of story.
of building up to it, they wanted to start with this.
Complete lack
It's
of
like
context.
going down a
That
mountain
doesn't
instead of
make
going up.
sense. Doesn't make sense. Because you can't enjoy a story if you don't understand what the story's about. If the first comic book to ever come out was the Avengers,
nobody would be like, "Who is Iron Man?
who are all these guys?" And now that, I mean, you could kind of the opposite of, okay, now we're going to create all these stories. That's how many movies have they missed out on now? Because, well, I mean, they're going to make them in the future, but how much better every single movie would have been, the success of every movie would have been if they would have done Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash. I'd rather have Hawk Girl and Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern than Cyborg.
You don't need a Cyborg movie. We didn't need a Hawkeye movie for him to be in Avengers. You know what I mean?
No.
Just give the dude a backstory if you want him in there.
Yeah. And so the success of the movies comes all the way down to storytelling, because I think DC has better stories and therefore are going to have the potential to create better movies. However, when you don't tell the stories that need to be told,
You don't make the good movies.
you don't make the good movie.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done here.
Yeah. So moving on to Suicide Squad. I thought Suicide Squad was all right. It was what it was. I didn't hate it. A lot of people hated on it. I just, I
walked out of it thinking, these are the words that I don't know if y'all remember, but I can remember. This looks like the pilot episode to a Suicide Squad TV show.
Yeah.
That's kind of the caliber of the movie it was. That's the feel I got of this was just a villain that we get to see. Not that big of a deal.
It was entertaining.
Introducing to the characters, but that's all that we got.
Yeah.
It was entertaining, but that
I
was
thought
about...
Will Smith made it entertaining. Harley Quinn was the best thing to come out of it by far.
Yeah.
Still scratch my head on Jared Leto's Joker a little bit.
Poop.
And the scenes where Batman did show up were kind of cool,
but completely unnecessary.
Yeah, it didn't fit in the story.
And I don't want to, again, like I talked about earlier, my going into this movie, my conceived notion of Joker is Heath Ledger. Never going to be a better one. But people said the same thing about Heath Ledger, of who no one can beat Jack Nicholson.
Did people say that?
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a good Joker.
And so
I just think that Heath Ledger was
He was
better.
easily the best thing. Like Heath Ledger, he was the best thing about that movie.
Exactly. And so people see a new character. You cannot top. That's an iconic role for Jack Nicholson.
But they went different directions, too, with Jared Leto.
Jared Leto is not so much the Joker as he is some weird, club
gangster.
owner.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. But, again, going into it, I'm like, this is something I do whenever I watch movies. I keep my mind open about it because I might enjoy the story that they're trying to tell.
Unless it's chimps climbing over razor wire.
That was Seth.
That's true. You were in on that.
You were so
He wasn't on that hill alone, brother.
No, I said something about they were firing guns and none of the shells were ejecting.
Anyways.
Moving on.
The deal with Suicide Squad was... This is going to go based off a lot of the Arkham video games for me.
Okay.
As far as, my least favorite part about Suicide Squad, they ruined Killer Croc, man. They absolutely...
You go back to the animated TV show with Batman. He's not the size of a human person.
Killer Croc is the size of Bane. Not Dark Knight Rises Bane. Real Bane.
And that's something I think they could have done a lot.
Anyways.
It's something that Batman and Robin did get right.
Luchador Bane is the best. Okay, so...
Except for he's like... Bane.
Yeah. But Killer Croc, could have been a pivotal point, and he was still super strong and could, swim really far or whatever. But he's
he looked like crap.
He's like an imposing, people are terrified of Killer Croc, not because he looks gross and ugly like he did in Suicide Squad,
because he
looks
shoots
like
and he's a freaking alligator.
he looks like a giant human
well,
alligator.
crocodile.
Well,
Killer Croc.
whatever, crocodilian, whatever.
Crocodilian.
And so that's their order.
I don't
so it, like I said, it was entertaining, and I thought it was a good move for the DCU because it was kind of like very action packed and like there was a lot of stuff happening, but it just kind of, like you said, was almost like a pilot for a series.
I think if
A Suicide Squad series would be
pretty
cool. Like Netflix, get on that because that'd be cool.
DC.
Well,
Yeah, but
Universe.
I mean, maybe if they hired somebody like James Gunn or somebody, it'd be a lot better.
GOAT.
Which
The GOAT.
what they do? They did.
LOL.
So I mean, there's not a lot.
I think that's about it for Suicide Squad, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just Harley Quinn was great.
Yeah.
Will Smith was okay. I mean, it was what it was. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like you. I go into these movies and I'm just like, I'll just,
Stay open to what they're wanting to
Right.
tell us, because I mean, I think it does a complete injustice to these creators to, to refuse what they're trying to present.
Right.
And so, I'm not going to be the person who does that. I want to stay open, but like, I mean, you're going to throw something as outlandish as this Joker. And again, like I was trying to say earlier, there's like 30 or 40 minutes of film of that Joker cut where we could have, maybe understood his character a little bit more, would have enjoyed him a little bit better.
Instead of that weird cameo where
Basically,
it was
all
just-
he had was cameos.
Yeah.
And
it's almost
shoot,
like
this-
they just used him. They knew when they started cutting the movie, Harley Quinn's the best thing in this movie.
Yeah.
So he was just kind of something to
Put on the
push
back
her
burner
story
because-
forward
yeah.
a little bit.
Which, maybe you don't even have to have the Joker to have Harley Quinn.
No.
You don't. Now, a lot of the stories are, I don't want to say better, but...
well, because they're a pair, they're together all the time.
Yeah, but a lot of, like, the animated series explores some of that of when, Harley goes off on herself, especially with, like, Poison Ivy. But,
And then Catwoman.
yeah. But, I don't know. And there's been talks of, like, a Harley and Joker movie with, these same characters from this movie.
Well, apparently Harley Quinn's getting her own movie.
Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn standalone.
She's
would
in
be
a
really
TV series on DC Universe, Birds of Prey.
Is that a TV series or is it a movie?
That's a TV series.
Is it really?
Pretty sure.
I think it may be a movie, but
good. Is she Harley? Who?
you're
is she
probably
Harley
right.
Quinn?
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duh.
yeah, but
And then
to make
the
sure.
one who played Laura Lance in Arrow is playing Black Canary.
Oh, cool.
There's another one. I don't know if
it's all female, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Speaking of females,
Powerful females.
so now we get to Wonder Woman, and up until this point, I think just the criticism they received for Batman or for Man of Steel and BVS being so dark, and then Suicide Squad just kind of being meh.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah, they kind of thought, okay, we need to do something different with Wonder Woman. I'll say this, especially coming off the heels of watching Captain Marvel a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was pretty good. Not just exceptional, but I liked it. I thought it was good.
We place it kind of like upper
Mid-tier.
Upper mid-tier Marvel movie, yeah. So
definitely not the worst, but we
Not
all
the
enjoyed
best.
the movie.
right, Wonder Woman. I watched it again yesterday. I hadn't watched it since maybe we had watched it in the theaters.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I might have watched it one other time when it came out on digital or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. The first 2/3 of that movie are probably like top 5 superhero movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All the way.
The end of it just gets way too generic, and it just kind of
Yep.
loses a lot of steam at the end.
lot.
But that first, and there are things I can nitpick, but just the story and the way she portrayed the character,
She's a very good Wonder Woman.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it came out, people were hyping it up, and I was like, I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't see it the first time. I didn't. It
Did we
didn't.
go watch it?
I did.
I wouldn't watch it. I think did a whole.
I think we all went and watched it.
I think we did.
together.
Yeah.
But basically, if a superhero movie's come out in the last 3 or 4 years,
We've
all
We've
watched
yeah.
it
seen it together at 7 in the morning.
Yeah,
Gosh.
Best time to do it.
that's right.
Or late enough we can eat Chinese for lunch.
But
That sounds so good.
that movie
I
was
might eat that on
phenomenal for that first hour and a half.
Yeah, and I'm the exact same way. And we'll get into this when we talk about Justice League, but I have the exact same stinking problems. You had a crap villain, and your third act. And I want to say I've said this before.
But I'm gonna say this: it didn't ruin the movie for me, but it definitely.
Dude, it knocked it down a lot for me.
Really?
It did for me.
That's pretty much my problem with. I know that we have talked a lot, me and Kirkland specifically, about the villain in Wonder Woman and Ares. You don't know anything about Greek mythology, by the way. Ares is the god of war, who is literally not even talking about DCEU anymore. Ares and Hades team up and almost kill Zeus, who's like the most powerful of the Greek gods. Okay,
Yeah.
Ares is a bad dude. He is the god of war. He wrote he is literally
A
a
bad
monster.
man,
Like he is a killer, does not care. And in this movie, I get it. It's for the sake of disguise, and he's like being all shady and stuff. That's not Ares' style.
And that's-
he's not an old man. He's freaking Ares, who supposedly
Immortal.
started-
He's a god.
Yeah. So why is he like wandering around? Why is he not like, hey, boom, bam,
And
Wonder Woman out?
that's my problem because we've seen this with all kinds of movies. Oh, the person you thought it was the entire
Right.
time he's actually not the villain. Oh, here he is. He's your friend who you thought was your friend.
Who hired you? Who sent you to the battlefield? Wrong.
That I think it was an accumulation of I think that was cheap, just a storytelling move of man, that's just I've seen that before. That's crap. Of ooh, gotcha.
And I think it was a
The
misuse.
person you thought was your friend the whole time is actually the bad guy.
I think it was a misuse of a pretty good opportunity to have a pretty wicked battle between a villain and a hero.
Well, I mean, we look at the Justice League one. That dude's spitting fire from his mouth.
Right.
That's pretty hardcore. Ares, yeah, in Justice League, is shooting fire out of his mouth. Now that I think about it, I rewatched all that Justice League and Justice League Unlimited not too long ago.
Ares is one of the best villains.
That's a pretty dark little TV show there.
That was
He's
bad
hardcore.
casting, picking an old dude to play Ares.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just
I guess they
decisions.
maybe they thought that if they picked somebody that
Was familiar and
fit the role a little bit better, that it'd be too much of a giveaway and they'd lose their big curveball.
yeah.
But it's kind of like,
But again, that's
well,
not Ares'
you go
style,
back-
is
that
what-
big
go back
curveball's
to,
the worst thing in the movie.
Exactly.
Why are we
What-
worried about
that's-
losing it?
Yeah. And so I don't know. That did hurt. If I'm going to watch Wonder Woman again, I'm going to watch it until they hit that base. And I don't want to see it end.
That
Because
the
I
scene,
love that movie until they get onto the base.
the
And
scene where they're in that trench and they tell her, "Hey, this is no man's land,"
no,
and she says, "Screw it, I'm going." That's one of the
good
best,
scene.
best
Good scene.
scenes in any superhero.
that's
movie.
where I almost wanted to be that person in the audience or got stood up and clapped or something.
I mean, it's really, really, really good. And I keep, the last month or so, I've heard so much about, or I've been listening to a lot of Captain Marvel stuff, getting hyped for Endgame, just absorbing all kinds of Marvel stuff.
Nolan.
And I've heard so much about the climax of Captain Marvel when she finally says "screw it" and she just beats everybody down. It's not bad,
She's flying through space.
But when I hear about how great that is, and then I go back literally yesterday and I watch that scene from Wonder Woman, I'm like, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's hardcore.
The only nitpick I'll have, and I think I'm going to go back and look, because there's a lot of it in Justice League too, because when they do the slow-mo stuff and we see how Flash is running.
Temple Run.
Yeah, I think it's
heard a more accurate thing than what you said.
I think
Temple Run guy.
it's I don't know if it's like a decision, like if it's like an art style thing that they want to put in all their movies, but they do so many of these Matrix shots.
There's a ton of slow mo
where it goes slow mo and they're flipping through the air and they're shooting bow and arrows upside down. The Amazons are. When I see that stuff, I mean, we've done plenty of comparisons. You can't not compare Marvel to DC. No. People have been doing that for 100 years. But
I don't think that's an unfair thing to do because DC has had every single opportunity to create the exact same franchise or be more successful than this franchise. They've
got the characters, they've got the stories, they just hadn't done it.
I think they have better characters and better stories.
With Marvel, as far as the action and the fight stuff, some people may not like it. I myself, you get like, especially the Russo brothers, they do the shaky cam stuff, they do the hand-to-hand stuff. Look at some of the... There's a fight scene between Cap and Winter Soldier Winter Soldier.
Intense.
And it's like 2 minutes long, and it's them just going hand to hand. It's like, that's freaking awesome.
Or like
in Civil War. That's one of the moments that got me most hyped for, like, one of the moments in the trailer of when, you know, when Iron Man shoots that beam and, like, deflects it off and goes, like, across the screen.
Yeah.
Or, like, that's iconic and very, very, very cool.
When I see them do the slow-mo stuff, I'm just like, they're killing time in the middle of a fight scene.
It's filler.
Because they're just not very good at filming a fight scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another thing they did.
But I think in the No Man's Land scene, I thought that was pretty cool because you get a lot of like special and visual effects from like the bullets being deflected.
But they didn't do it as much in that scene as they did in the rest of the movie,
which is weird.
Which is why that scene was so good to me.
Yeah.
I think
it wasn't overused.
That's not why the scene was good, but it made it better.
Yeah.
There was a scene in Avengers, and I think it was Black Widow that came running at Captain America, and she jumped on his shield, and he like boosted her up.
That was in Avengers, and boosted her
they
up. They
do that like 5 times in Wonder Woman, and it's like there's no way they didn't get that off of Avengers, you know. So it's like if you do it once, it's like okay, and then
about
the third or fourth time, you're like, come on, y'all, you know. But you know, not past nitpicking. The first 2/3 of that movie are
excellent,
as good as it gets, especially for an origin story, which we've seen so many origin stories that are kind of run of the mill now. And that scene where she goes from the trench across no man's land and then like liberates that town in France or wherever they're at, that's as good an action scene as we'll see in a superhero movie.
Absolutely.
Period.
Then we get introduced to the villain. And I'm done with the movie.
I just really missed a chance. And that's been kind of the theme with these DCEU movies, which we'll kind of get into when we talk about Justice League in a second.
We need to move into that.
Is they miss so many opportunities. So many missed shots at good villains or good dialogue or good backstory or good anything.
Which is so weird because you literally have a template of success.
Yeah, like how to do it. It's
basically
not hard.
Do exactly what Marvel's doing. Who's going to complain? I'm not going to go watch, you know, this Justice League movie. If it had been done correctly with the build-up of stories, I'm not going to go watch it because it is the exact same thing that Avengers did. Well, what came first, Avengers or Justice League? Yeah. If you want to talk about anybody doing anything that someone else is doing, it's Marvel. Deadpool, one of the most successful Marvel characters now, taken from Deathstroke. Now, you could argue who's a better character, but still, and there's not a problem with that, of creators bouncing off of the creativity of each other. You can do this and not... If DC were to do the exact same thing that Marvel has done to create such a successful franchise, it would be a different style of movie. It would not feel the same. The tone would be totally different, but these movies would be good.
Yeah.
So let's roll into the steaming pile known as Justice League. So my first time to watch Justice League was right before we did this podcast. And I looked at Kirkland at one point in the movie and said, "What is this? Like, what are we watching?" And it was rough, and it was pretty rough. I mean, I'm not saying it's the worst movie I've ever seen, but it is not up to caliber with Man of Steel or Wonder Woman, or I'm not going to compare it to Batman vs Superman because also garbage. But underwhelming is just the word that I kept thinking.
First of all,
that's a good way of putting it.
Incredibly disappointing. And I'm never one to like nitpick on something as small as like the way a movie visually looks, like aesthetically. This is just a crappy looking movie.
It doesn't look like, from the very first scene where Batman is on the rooftop fighting that dude, it looks like a fake location with CGI in the background. The whole movie looks like
that.
that.
I walked in about halfway through the movie of when Isaac was watching it through the first time, and I don't know how many scenes I actually remember seeing where I was like, this looks like a set that people created.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of scenes in Avengers where, they're in New York. You can't film in freaking...
you can't block off a section of New York.
So you have to have a set. But it looks...
like New York.
Looks realistic.
Yeah.
They're in a ship, and it's like, this looks like a green screen. You can see the human person against the green screen.
Just like we talked about Cyborg.
Every single one of these scenes.
Cyborg's face literally looks CGI'd onto a robot.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't
Like
even look
and then you
passable.
watch the behind the scenes deal,
He's wearing like his
and everybody
pajamas.
else is in costume, and he's running around in his pajamas, and you're like, it was CGI.
Yeah. Fun of every day. We're trying to film a movie.
Why the crap are people throwing a fit about Superman's upper lip and not saying a word? That just tells you people don't give a crap about Cyborg.
Yeah.
Period.
Get him out of the movie.
And we talked about...
Give us Hawkman. Give us Martian Manhunter.
Hot girl.
What kind of a... What?
Whoa. Yeah?
Okay, so we're...
Y'all can't see, but Stark just lost his mind.
It was awesome.
I just had an epiphany.
Yeah.
We're coming off Man of Steel, where we talk about Superman's this deity and all that power. And what if Justice League was about Martian Manhunter coming to Earth and them having to decide what to do about that?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That's a big deal in
that's a
the
good
Justice
movie.
League TV series.
Yeah.
Because when he shows
Why
up,
didn't
they're
they
kinda
do
like,
that?
They're like,
Alien.
who's
They're-
this guy? Like,
Well,
Martian
we get introduced
Manhunter.
to Martian Manhunter because the white Martians are invading.
Yes.
And they're like killing people,
And
but
so
they
John
basically have
Jones
the
comes
same.
and he's
They
like,
would be
"Hey,
that already sounds like a better villain
thank you.
or better antagonist than the Bug people.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah,
And,
that's the worst
And
villain
no one
in a
cares
superhero
about
movie.
Okay, and here's my
ever.
thing.
And you hear Steppenwolf, you think
And it goes
magic
back,
carpet ride.
right. So here's
but
the
it goes back to. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're
but
good.
It goes back to the whole movie. Just looks fake.
Every
looks
single
CG,
bit of it.
And Steppenwolf,
His
who
whole body is
cares?
CG.
You know what I mean? Like we've seen CG characters. Gollum 12, 15 years ago looked better than Steppenwolf.
He's
You know,
I love
All the way.
Gollum. So here's my deal with Steppenwolf. Just like we talked about with Wonder Woman, a missed opportunity, the good villain. So I didn't know who Steppenwolf was.
No.
Nobody really does. So I Googled him, right? So Steppenwolf is Darkseid's uncle. Okay. So
Cool.
he's also one of Darkseid's elite, and he is like the big general over Apocalypse, so the planet.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, potentially a bad dude. Like, he's like almost like Darkseid's right-hand man. Why was he just now introduced if he's like some integral part of the villain system of the Justice League, where he's going to be, the big main villain in Justice League, the movie, and he's just garbage. And then what are these little boxes that he's getting?
Mother boxes.
yeah.
Okay, what's another box?
It's we don't get any of that, but
Is that
that's
a big
where,
deal in the comics or in?
I
any
never
of-
heard of it.
It's how all right, so
we knew
it's
about the
origin of
Infinity Stones. The
It's
first
the origin
time
of
you
Cyborg.
heard
Yeah.
Infinity Stone, you were like, "Here we go."
Here we go.
You know?
Yeah.
And when you hear Mother Box, you're just like, "What?"
Okay,
And-
I don't
and
know
the
much
we-
about the mother boxes other than it's involved in the origin story of Cyborg. Cyborg's dad was experimenting with these mother boxes, researching them, and then he had a horrible, I want to say
Accident,
car
some sort.
accident.
Yeah.
But he was a football star. His son was basically going to die. He used the technology from this mother box to bring his son back
Is
to
that
life.
from the movie or is that from?
That's like
No,
canon.
that's like
yeah.
that's origin.
That's from Cyborg's legit origin.
That's his origin.
And so, for some reason, we have these weird boxes, and Steppenwolf talks to them like they're his actual mother. He says, "Mother knows," or "Mother has called me," and it's just very weird.
we don't
and
get
it's-
any explanation.
And-
And again, it goes all the way back to storytelling.
right. So is Steppenwolf there because Darkseid sent him, or is Steppenwolf kind of doing his own thing and he's like, well, screw Darkseid, I don't know what's going on
we
Apocalypse.
It took us 11 years to get to Thanos. When we got to Thanos is a boss, right?
Yeah.
But we
And
still
he's had like 5 minutes total of on-screen time. And we're scared of this.
We still got pieces of Thanos.
And even Thanos
At
is
other times, why not give us a little dab of Darkseid here and there?
even
Yeah.
You know,
Thanos'
instead
cronies.
of just
Do
showing
the
this
exact same thing
throwing
that
this
Marvel has done.
crappy
Tell a good
character.
story.
Yeah, throwing this crappy Steppenwolf, and we're just
Make him
supposed to
something.
find out. Oh yeah, he's the Herald of Darkseid, so we're supposed to get excited about that.
No.
You don't have
Make
to
him
give us a 2-hour feature on Darkseid. Give us 30 seconds here. Give us a minute there. You know.
Well,
Yeah.
and even like Thanos' like people, like his cronies, are more intimidating than Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Like the big guy with the claw hammer in Infinity War that like
Oh, Proxima Midnight, dude. That dude's
Bro.
freaking...
No, that's a chick.
Is it?
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
the Corvus? No, that's the dude with the staff.
with Proxima. The guy
Ebony
that has
Maw
the needles.
is the-
Ebony Maw is the
Ebony
needle
Maw.
guy.
It's a
Ebony
Squidward
Maw
looking
is
dude.
freaking legit, man.
That dude's awesome. And then the big guy that
Yeah.
rips off the Hulkbuster's arm. Okay, he decimated a robot that's made to contain the Hulk. What the crap? Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So even the like the lower tier, like those are just guys that Thanos is like, hey, you guys are my hit squad. Like they're not even in charge of. Like they're not even at Ronin level.
And that's something that would have been cool to have a little bit more story of, but you go back to storytelling, you've only got
3 movies.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, like this is already a 2.5 hour movie where we've have 60 characters or something insane like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not 60, but like 30 characters. You include Guardians, Iron Man, the Avengers. You know, that's a lot of characters that you have to keep up with all at once in this 2.5 hour movie. And so, you know, to lose a little bit of story
I cannot
of
wait to watch Infinity War again to do this.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
going to
gonna
say
be
that.
oh, it's gonna be so awesome.
love it.
but again,
Let's go back to crap
So-
on DC.
But these are not characters that we should. These are not the ultimate fear in these
Right.
movies, and they shouldn't be. And so therefore, we're not going to give them as much time. They pretty much get eliminated. Well, the first Ebony Maw gets eliminated pretty early.
By Spider-Man.
That other dude gets sent off. The big dude gets sent off.
to the Shield in Wakanda.
Yeah, and then Proxima and Corvus, whoever.
Corvus gets killed. After
You don't know that. Either way, they're
Didn't
not
Scarlet
important.
Witch kill him?
yeah, Scarlet Witch obliterated Corvus.
No, the girl. Proxima
Oh,
Midnight.
She
Set 'em
got
up.
chopped up. In
Yeah,
the,
that's Proxima
in the thing.
Midnight.
Yeah,
And so, you know, those aren't.
We'll know these characters better when we do our
yeah.
Infinity
We're
War.
yeah,
focused
yeah.
on DC right now. It's okay.
And so again, it goes back to my thing of storytelling. These aren't integral to the story. We're not going to spend so much time with them. Steppenwolf, if this is the story that you want to tell, you have to give a story about
Excuse
this
me.
guy.
You're
Yeah,
saying
and there was
Steppenwolf. It's
I'm
Steppenwolf.
sorry. I think 70s, 80s rock.
It doesn't even. It doesn't.
Nobody
matter.
cares.
No.
Nobody cares.
There was time to do that in Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even a post-credit scene. You know what I mean?
It hurts
Because
me. It just it hurts me.
the
talking
Amazons
about this
had
movie.
one of the mother boxes. They could have set up the mother box,
Or-
and they could have gave us
Yes.
something to make us care about Steppenwolf.
Yes.
But who cares? You know, they'll go see it anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Put a scene, because I guarantee that people have seen these movies, unless you're a DC fan.
Oh,
You have no idea what
You don't
that
know what
place is.
Apocalypse is. You don't know who Darkseid is.
Okay, and-
I'm a DC fan. I didn't even know who Steppenwolf was.
Yeah, and again, like, I don't think that is as important because I didn't know who Thanos was, but
we learned.
we have access now to discover who that is. Oh,
who
this
knew
is the
who?
story they're
Who knew
about to
who
tell.
Hela was
Right.
before Ragnarok?
I had no
Exactly.
idea.
So
But they took time in that movie, explained it. This is a bad
Right.
chick right here.
Yeah.
You
my
know?
point is, whether it's in Wonder Woman and you have the mother box Wonder Woman, maybe it starts to like vibrate and glow, and that's a fast forward to Justice League. Or we see Darkseid on Apocalypse telling Steppenwolf, like, hey, it's time to do whatever. You know what I mean? But they missed opportunities is what I keep
And
going back
I
to.
think
Lazy
all of-
storytelling.
Every single
Right.
minute,
It's
and
just
the lazy story.
Poor, not well done.
And what the lazy storytelling isn't in this movie. It's this movie came like
From
5
lazy.
movies
Yeah.
too short.
Yeah.
DC was trying to compete with Marvel.
They were
And
rushed.
They
hurried.
They didn't need to. Sure, they would come into the money later, but how much more money they would have made if they would have created all of these and what we didn't. So the Avengers, who did we not get No, we got everybody before Avengers, except for Black Widow but we're introduced to Black Widow and
Black Widow's in Iron Man 2.
2.
Hawkeye's introduced in Thor.
Thor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the hammer lands out in the desert.
Yeah.
And S.H.I.E.L.D. sets up a perimeter around
he's there.
the hammer.
That's right.
And they're studying it,
Okay.
and he's
the protector, whatever
Yeah.
of it. And so really, that's all that we need for them.
Yeah.
And now I'm excited for the Black Widow movie because that's going to be cool, and we get snippets. And the storytelling is so great in Marvel because in these movies we have an arc for the Hulk, we have a little bit of an arc for Black Widow. We get a little bit of her past with her red assignment, which is like when you're an assassin, your red assignment is whenever you make your first kill, and if you don't do it, you don't become an assassin. And with her, it seems like if you don't do it, you're basically dead. Because I don't know. I don't know enough about Black Widow's origin. I just know
But we're gonna learn
the red
about it.
assignment is, and that's cool. Hawkeye, we really just know he has a family, but with the Incredible Hulk, with him,
Or does he?
Or
does he?
Does he now?
No, he doesn't. He
See
doesn't
ya.
now. We saw that in the trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got all this story being told, but it's all coherent.
Mm-hmm.
We're understanding it. In Justice League, they're giving us no story, and we don't understand any of it. Because
Here's another thing about Justice League that I was kind of following it up to a point, but they have a fight against Steppenwolf. He tries to get the mother box. He fails. They beat him. They still have the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they go back, and Batman just says, let's resurrect Superman.
Yeah.
No reason, no need to do it. They just beat the bad guy. I guess you could say, well, it was a tougher fight than they thought it'd be, so they thought, well, we need...
Just in case.
Yeah.
but we went from a Batman who was like,
But it's just lazy storytelling.
right, and so we go to Batman and BVS, and he's hardcore like, if Superman gets out of line, putting him down. Let's bring Superman back because we need him because we're not strong enough. Like, what?
And
sorry.
People have complained that Captain Marvel's going to be too OP. Okay, Thor is just as OP as
Be
Captain
careful
Marvel
what you
is,
say here
for
because we'll
one.
get shut down before we even start.
Whatever. But that was so cheap and crappy. And I said the same thing in the Captain Marvel podcast of if Captain Marvel comes in here and she just completely wrecks, you've killed 11 years of telling a story.
You're exactly right.
And they're
I
not
don't
going to
think
do that.
they'll do it.
They're
I don't
not
think
going
it
to do that.
Yeah.
They're too good. They're too good.
Justice League did it.
Yeah.
Batman couldn't do crap. Aquaman couldn't do crap. Cyborg couldn't do crap. Wonder Woman couldn't do crap. All four of them together couldn't do crap against Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf. We resurrect Superman, like 2 punches, he's done.
Yeah.
Speaking
and
of
even
Aquaman.
they even say that too. They're like, well, Aquaman says Superman's AWOL, but we're probably going to die anyway. So, we'll still do this.
Speaking of Aquaman, somebody who we can assume has powers comparable to Wonder Woman, at least. Wonder Woman's not invulnerable. Aquaman is, unless it's Atlantean steel, whatever that means. So, why can't he hold his own? You know what I mean?
All of these characters
Together, Cyborg
almost
is
don't
literally
need each
made
other.
of the mother box. He's got some powerful thing about him. Can't even touch Steppenwolf. Can't even look at him. Superman says one word, gone. It's over with. See ya.
Well, they don't need each other, and they also don't have a villain powerful
Right.
enough for them
To
to
require
think
that.
they need each other.
Yeah, and that's something that was so great about the Justice League TV show is that we start with, at kind of the beginning of it, of they want to do this all on their own. They don't want to team up because
Especially
you're
like
going to
Green
get in my
Arrow
way.
and who are people who
Well, that
are-
was in Unlimited,
Well,
but
yeah,
I'm thinking of
still.
like with the original series
Right.
of Batman, especially, has always been
I work alone.
But they always create a villain who we have to get together. We cannot do this by ourselves. If we do, we're going to screw ourselves up, and the world's going to freaking end.
And it's not even always just a single villain. That's one thing about DC that I've always liked, is how complex their villains are. Because you look at Marvel, and aside from the immediate villains of all the superheroes, you really have one big bad guy, Thanos.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more or less it for the Marvel universe, right?
Nah.
Well, but
I
As a
honestly,
comic book
I think
story
that
or
is
MCU?
a blanket criticism of the MCU is the villains haven't been that great.
Yeah.
I'm not
But
saying
I
that.
I know you're not, but I think there are a handful of. I think some of them have not been that great, but there are a handful of them that are
Right.
pretty underrated.
Right, and so, but then you look at DC, and you have villains like Darkseid and Brainiac and Gorilla
Lex
Grodd, even Lex Luthor.
Mixelplick, or what's his name?
You can't say his name.
You can't say his name.
You can, but you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and then even like the Yellow Lantern people, who's Sinestro. Yeah,
That's the one good thing about
True.
that Green Lantern movie.
True.
Sinestro is probably the best villain in the DC
Black Adam.
so far.
Black Adam.
is one of the best villains of all time.
That's coming. That could be.
That could be a good freaking
Yeah.
movie. But you
Look,
have,
so high.
Looking
for
at how
Shazam.
good Shazam looks,
yeah,
and knowing that he's going to be going up against The Rock
As
playing
Black
Black
Adam.
Adam, how freaking awesome! I'm already getting high.
All right, so I think this is that we could come out of Justice League. We've talked a lot about it.
Just
Kind of final thoughts
thoughts.
on it. Again, pathetic movie. I was so disappointed walking out of that. All the way. I was just incredibly disappointed because my immediate thought was they tried to do Avengers way too soon.
right.
And I think they could have done Justice League better than the Avengers.
I think-
Marvel did the Avengers.
I've said it before about the DC movies, kind of been my common thing. It was just watered down, underwhelming, whatever you want to call it. A missed opportunity. It was hurried. It was rushed. Just like you said, they tried to be the Avengers when they don't have the foundation.
They're trying to make Marvel money when they can make DC money.
Right.
I'm putting my point
right.
on your point.
And
my bad.
just watered down. Just
Yeah.
it was not enjoyable even almost.
my final thoughts on Justice League were Batman versus Superman. I was with it until they kind of took a left turn and just drove off a cliff. Justice League, they didn't even get the car started. Like, it's just bad CGI, lazy
Looks like
action
crap, yeah.
scenes, lazy storytelling. There are a couple of moments with the best scene in the whole movie is when Aquaman's sitting on the lasso
yeah.
of truth. That by far,
That was funny.
It was
Wonder
funny.
Woman gets a couple of pretty good scenes. Alfred is just a useless character in this whole universe, period.
Played by a really good actor in Jeremy Irons. They really did not do him justice.
They're wasting him.
Yeah.
But we go from Justice League to Aquaman. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it. I mean, I don't think we'll stay on this very long. I'll say this. I started rewatching it this weekend on a 4K TV. It's one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen in my life.
I'd agree with that.
It's a and seeing it like in XD at the theater.
It's visually very satisfying.
It's almost
Visually
too
very-
much for your brain to process.
Right.
It's just like, dude, there's freaking colors and movement everywhere. This is insane. It's really, really, really well made.
Yeah.
The story,
Again.
pretty generic.
We're facing to talk about that mess right there.
But to me, just for me to sum up Aquaman, it's almost like the Fast and the Furious of the DC universe, where they made
As in like number 4? or the Fast and the Furious.
no, it's like
The franchise?
yeah, just the franchise.
Not
as
not
whole.
a specific movie. Oh.
They made a very well-looking, entertaining, action-packed
Yes.
movie. It was pretty well mindless. There's lots of laughs with the way Jason Momoa plays the character. The redheaded chick in there smoking hot. You know, I mean, but that's when I was watching it this morning, I was like, this is just their version of Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
I love Jason Momoa. Okay.
All the way.
Frontier, one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's a Netflix special. Jason Momoa plays it. Khal Drogo. Oh my gosh. Okay. Jason Momoa is a stud of an actor. Okay. I don't have a problem with him playing Aquaman. That's not my problem.
I think he looks well for the part.
I think to a T, save the super like platinum blonde hair and beard that we're used to in the TV show, like the animated series. I think he pretty much looks the part of a pretty like rough, rugged, big
wears
dude.
the tattoos,
right? Like he's a
like
bad A, right? Okay.
And he doesn't have tattoos in the cartoon, but it
He could
works
have.
here.
So I don't know. I need to get an Aquaman comic book, but from my understanding, he doesn't like the surface. He was born Atlantean. Like he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't born. He was king. No.
I mean, he was half human, half.
He's freaking hardcore in the comics.
I don't think he was half human in the comics.
Maybe. Yeah, I think he was.
I'm pretty sure he was.
I don't know. I don't know.
Either way, so my point of reference is the Justice League TV show.
Yeah.
He hated the surface. So much to the point where he told Superman pretty much F off. Like, I'm not helping you in your surface world. Like, you're pretty much screwed because Atlantis is out of it. All right?
Yeah.
And his brother was not so much an enemy. He was a friend until he overthrew Aquaman and chopped his hand off. Well, chained him up to this thing, and Aquaman was going to die, so he cut his own hand off.
Yeah.
And then Orm became Ocean Master, who was...
This is Justice League cartoon, bro.
Yeah. So Orm pretty much was going to kill Aquaman because he was like, I want to be king. So he kills him. Or thinks he does. Ocean Master. Aquaman chops his hand off, gets this wicked sweet, like, hook thing that, like, sticks out of the back of his arm. It's wicked awesome. Bad. Goes back, pretty much kicks Orm's butt, takes back Atlantis, and then decides, okay, well, I can help the Justice League now because I need help too.
And service people are not horrible
kill
people.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and so that's really the Aquaman I expected. And then we get to it. Now, I'm not saying the movie was bad. I kind of like the backstory of he lived with his dad and Queen Atlan was just kind of doing her thing and whatever. But I was just like, okay, well, Ocean Master was a letdown because he is... My thing with Aquaman on the villains thing, I love villains. We have too many villains in Aquaman. I don't think Black Manta and Ocean Master can share a movie because Black Manta
did not get enough screen time.
Right, is the villain. Like even you go into like Young Justice series, Black Manta's son is like the new Aquaman.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, but then nobody wants to talk about it. Black Manta is a pivotal villain, not only for Aquaman, but for DC, too, because he's pretty much like the Bruce Wayne of villains in DC. And no superpowers, really, except that he has access to Atlantean tech and can shoot laser beams out of his whole head. So he's kind of a pivotal deal. Now, him and Ocean Master certainly are partners a lot, I think, because you kind of have to be. But,
mutual.
But I think we could have either mentioned Ocean Master... Or this could have been Aquaman's Rise to Power. He defeats Ocean Master, and then at the very end, we see the scene of Manta on the submarine. Like
Manta was almost only put in there for a sequel opportunity.
Right.
But all we had to have had for a sequel opportunity was some after credit scene where we see the word Black Manta or something. Trying to add this into the movie took away from the Ocean Master development and discredited everything about Black Manta.
Take the very beginning where we saw Aquaman in the submarine, where we learned that he's invulnerable and he pretty much just beats all those dudes up before Black Manta is Black Manta. Put that as a post credit. Make that like a 3-4 minute
would have been
post credit scene, and then
or an epilogue.
Right, like something
that
at
would
the
have been.
very end.
Everything doesn't have to be a post credit, but still.
That's true.
Right.
That would have been a pretty epic
instead
sequel
of it being
opportunity.
kind of in a weird place at the beginning because
trying to follow these two stories at the same time, and
we go from Black Manta submarine to in a bar with his dad.
Yeah.
Which was a funny scene. You're the fish man, right? Or fish boy, right?
Yeah.
Fish man. Okay, that was funny, but it was weird coming after. And they kind of tied it together with the new scene where it's like, mysterious Aquaman saves Russian submarine to whatever they said. It was just, it didn't fit. It didn't fit well for me.
And I said I do keep an open mind when I come into these new characters, but I don't know if I entirely liked the character that Aquaman played in this movie. He's a king.
Yeah.
But that's not who he is in this movie.
And that's kind of where we go back to
but that's where he ends up.
Yeah. And so
And the King Arthur thing,
Take away my.
which has always been like his name's always been Arthur. That's not. I just think that it's funny that he's King Arthur, King of Atlantis, missing weapon sort of thing. It's kind of funny. I thought the addition of the big Kraken thing at the end. What is it? What do they call it?
Dude,
It's a weird.
release the Kraken.
It's a funny name.
Yeah, but Julia Roberts is the voice. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think it's Julia Roberts, but it is some.
I think it's Julia. It may not be, but it's somebody really famous like that. And like the little bit of dialogue that she has, it's not Julia Roberts. The little bit of dialogue.
You're all the way off.
Yeah, you're right. It's not Julia Roberts. The little bit of dialogue that she has is so good, I thought, and just like is this weird protagonist or antagonist that we've had throughout the whole movie. And then she shows up and she's like, well, I haven't eaten in like a millennia, so if you get this question wrong, I'm gonna physically eat you, so you better get ready. And then she just
Julie Andrews.
Okay.
Andrews.
So Aquaman literally
The
rides
Chekhov Sound of Music
yeah,
plays
the Kraken.
Carathian.
I knew it was something. But so then Aquaman literally rides this mythological sea creature out of the sea when they're fighting the brine. And I just thought that was a pretty neat, when you talked about like visually stunning movie, when they bust out there and there's like lava spewing everywhere and there's like blood floating around, like that was a cool scene. There's like explosions going on and mostly
it's almost too, like I said, it's almost too much to process.
It's
but it's still
sensory
really cool.
overload. Yeah.
Well, okay. A lot of people have compared this of DC's version of Ragnarok with the color,
Dark World,
with the color
scheme, the music, just I was just like, okay. I mean, I hate to say rip off, but they just took that style that Ragnarok kind of established, and they kind of that's what we're going to do.
I don't think that would have been such a bad move.
If Ragnarok wasn't so great.
True.
With that, but
true.
If you had
in the build up that Ragnarok
if you had a story,
yeah,
that kind of equated.
But I think
the story wasn't terrible, but it was just kind of a generic superhero movie.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
With a lot. I mean, they did a ton of things right. The story was just kind of run of the mill.
And I think the similarity from Ragnarok to Aquaman 2 comes from like Aquaman is very much Thor's counterpart, I think, in the way that like the character,
like Marvel counterpart.
Yeah, like the way that they act,
King,
and the way that they like kind of present themselves as kind of like a god to scratch Superman.
To the people,
right? Like Aquaman's is very pivotal, and like he has like
Thor says mortals
like the hair,
all the time.
and they're this like holier than like mythological being, and so I don't have a problem with the similarity because I think they're similar characters.
So going off of that. You think about how story-wise, there's just not really anything I remember about that movie. I remember some of the action scenes.
I had trouble following.
I remember the colors.
Aquaman.
I just remember it looked great. It was just a good time at the movies.
Yeah.
A lot of people, Thor is on the lower tier of Marvel movies.
Save Ragnarok.
Right. I'm talking about the original Thor.
I'll agree with that.
Thor Dark World's probably on the bottom of a lot of people's lists.
All the way.
But the original one, even in that one, like think about the scene between Thor and Odin when Thor's getting cast out.
Yeah.
Because Thor it's just a powerful, emotional scene.
Emotional, that's a very good word.
He tells him, you're an old man who, time's passed you by. And he's like, when you're a reckless boy and you don't deserve the gifts and the responsibilities that you have right before. I mean, that's freaking powerful.
That's a pretty good story there.
You may have got a little bit of that in Wonder Woman between her and Steve Trevor when they're going back and forth about. She's like, well, why are y'all fighting the war this way? And he's trying to explain it to her.
Yeah.
But he really can't. Mm-hmm. But besides that, you don't get any of that from and that's from a lower tier Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I agree. There's not a real deep like emotional pull in Aquaman.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Thor when it first came out. I remember watching it several times. But Thor 2, I don't even give a care about, except for it has to do with the Reality Stone.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's important, but
I think there's some stuff in there with him and Loki that's kind of.
He dies in that one.
quote unquote.
Quote unquote. Yeah.
My brother is dead this time, but I think for real.
At least I think so.
Yeah.
But
And that was, and Iron Man was fun. I guess overall, all of these Marvel movies have been very fun.
And
Yeah.
and Aquaman has really been the first DC movie with any
That
humor.
tried
humor.
to have fun.
Yeah, and it
Justice
was.
League, there were some moments. The best scene in Justice
Aquaman.
League is when he's sitting on the lasso of truth,
oh,
and
that is
he's
that
giving
is
his
give it
bottle
credit.
up.
That is a great
Right.
scene.
It's a great.
And
It
so,
is hilarious.
I don't think it would hurt the DCEU to make some lighter movie. Now, don't get me wrong, Aquaman's pretty dark because he's like stabbing people and like ripping people out and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of fighting and killing in the Aquaman movies. It has its fair share of like dark points, but it's definitely way more lighthearted than even like Wonder Woman. And
I think we're fixing to get there. So let's just final thoughts on Aquaman.
I thought as far as the DCEU movies go, one of their upper tier movies. Yeah, just based on
DCEU.
just based on
Excluding
anything
Nolan
from. If you just want to go by like looks or by how it was shot,
Enjoyment watching the
right,
movie.
entertaining. Like it was good. It was
most.
action packed. It kept you like, hey, what's gonna happen? And not so much that it was suspenseful, but like, Aquaman's trying just got cut in half. Orm is fixing to kill him. Like,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen? That stuff is cool. And honorable mention to William Dafoe, who plays a really good character.
Oh man again, Spider-Man.
Sleep. Anyways, so you have a really good kind of mentor role from William Dafoe, and he kind of gets his little like pitch in at the end where he's like, give him a room with the view or whatever when they're locking Orm away. Like, little things about that movie made it better.
When he
than the
comes
movie
out
that's
with the
around.
trident and the orange suit, orange armor,
that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
When he's like, it's not even in slow mo, and he like slams it down, and like there's water. Like that was a cool.
And he
moment.
goes from Injustice League to just being like, all right.
to being like, I am the most powerful man
that.
on the planet.
It's like, okay, somebody
Yeah.
got the character right.
Yeah. Kind of the same thing. I agree with pretty much everything that Isaac said. The most enjoyable DCEU movie.
I still like Wonder Woman better.
Oh, I think. So
I
too.
think better movie,
Yeah.
but the ending, honestly, completely kills it for me.
Yeah.
And that I know that's kind of a little crappy, but I don't think that's entirely on me. They completely crapped on themselves because she gave her a horrible villain and didn't end it well.
I think there's that emotional moment with Steve Trevor kind of wrapped up into that saves it a little bit for me.
I feel that.
So, but Aquaman, go ahead. Sorry.
So I want to kind of transition out of Aquaman into this next thing because
I got
with
one
the
thing
darker
to say about Aquaman.
Okay. With the darker tone that kind of Zack Snyder's vision has been put on this entire universe, you don't have to stick so much with that. And I think it's good that it kind of broke loose with this because with the way that they're developing this character, it needs a lighter tone. If you were to try it, if we were to go for a Batfleck Aquaman equivalent, but we had in Justice League this lighter, more fun
it would've made
character,
sense.
it would have made it. Yeah, it would have been even worse.
Yeah.
And Aquaman would have been worse for it. But going into lighter movies, I mean, you said you want to say one more thing about Aquaman.
Well, it was a fun time at the movies. It was very, very, like I've said, the visuals and just the way they made the movie.
Very well done. And a huge step up from Justice League.
Good Lord, yes.
Oh yeah,
Huge step.
absolutely.
Good Lord.
And I'll say this, just going back to the way the movie was shot and the effects and the colors. I bought it a few weeks ago when it came out on digital. Mm-hmm. Haven't watched it since. Watched it, but didn't really have a great desire to watch it. But I was like, I know we're going to talk about this, so I'm going to go ahead and buy it. But when I started watching it today and I saw just how good it looked, it made me want to watch it.
Yeah.
So like I didn't finish it today, but I'll go back and finish it. I'll say this, like you talk about all the crap that Aquaman goes through, if they're setting it up through this movie, when they do it in the next movie or the one after that, it's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah,
They're doing they did a real good job of setting up this universe.
It seems like they're starting to catch on.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense. Are you done?
One more point.
Okay.
People, when it came out, it made a ton of money. And people were like, this is what they need to do. For me, it's a step in the right direction. But story-wise, everything was kind of so generic. I'm still just kind of, I'm not going to say this is what they need to do. Basically, you're saying make average to below average really good looking action movies. We've got that stuff.
Well, compensating for story in terms of visual.
Right. But like
which is not a good trade-off.
Isaac's complaint
for one
was there's so much better story out there than what they gave us. If they're heading in that direction, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and that's okay, so you done now?
Yeah, done. That's it.
So transitioning into that of, going forward, with Aquaman they seem to they're getting a little bit closer to how to tell a better story. Visually looks a lot better. Overall, just a much more enjoyable movie. Where does Shazam fit into this? Okay, to preface that, I'm so pumped for Shazam because none of y'all watch Chuck, but that's one of my favorite TV shows ever.
Yeah.
Zachary Levi is incredible, and I know he's been wanting this role for a while now. Well, like people have been, I guess,
casting him for it.
Basically casting him for this role. I am so pumped for Shazam. I think a lot of people have already said it's the best DC movie, but we've said that about the last every DCEU movie made.
Well, we haven't,
true. But before we look at just kind of closing of the podcast of final thoughts about this whole thing, and also with Shazam, I'm hopeful because Aquaman seems like they're getting it together a little bit more. With the scope of DCEU, what their plans are, they want to develop these, solo films. Why not before Justice League will forever remain a mystery, I suppose. But, I mean, maybe they can crawl themselves out of this hole that they've dug and give us a successful franchise and a franchise that's good. Because like I said earlier, I enjoy the characters of DC better. I enjoy the stories of DC more. Well, DC more. Therefore, I think the DCEU can be more enjoyable, at least for me personally. Not to say like I don't enjoy MCU at all, because you talk about any franchise ever, the best storytelling. 11 years you've kept a story going, and people aren't bored of it, for one, because you're telling an incredible story.
They're fired up for the end of this story, and we're talking about what's coming next.
Yeah, what's coming next. We're not tired of these characters. Yep. I don't think we ever will be. Superhero.
We've been watching these characters for 11 years.
We're invested.
We're fixing to lose
a butt ton of them.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. It's going to hurt.
Yeah, but
bad,
we've
bro.
We've had DC Comics created Batman. Well, Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Bill Finger's a Batman nerd out as the one that we know now. Like Bob Kane
kind of
doesn't have a whole lot to do with.
Yeah.
But whatever. 1947, I think, was when the first issue of Batman came out. We are, what is that, 72 years later?
Roughly.
If my math is anywhere close. And second most popular character.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that. We're not going to get tired of superhero characters, but you have to tell good stories. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to tell a good story, because you want to make good money. But also, I think as a company, money is your number one concern.
Yep.
But I think a lot of these people who are on this position care about the characters and care about presenting quality for the consumer. And I think they kind of freaked out with the Avengers and dished out what people were into at that moment of biggest superhero join up of all time. Let's do our version. No, you missed it, because this is not the story. This is not what people want now. At the end of Iron Man 1, we saw Avengers coming. Mm-hmm. They built hype for 4 years. we didn't see Justice League coming with Man of Steel. We saw it with Dawn of Justice.
We didn't even see Batman versus Superman coming. Because when they
No, at the
announced
end of it-
that was like a freaking shock.
Oh, well, Batman vs. Superman coming.
Yeah.
Right.
But even coming off to that, there's no hype for these movies. And a lot of that has to do because no one's ready for these. Because no one cares enough about these characters yet.
You haven't invested in
No,
the
not at
characters.
all.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful because it looks, I don't know what they're going to do with Shazam, if he's going to be a part of Justice League or something. I don't know what their plans are, or if this is just a movie they dished out because they thought it'd be successful. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really enjoyable because I know I like Zachary Levi. I know I love his acting. I know he's great.
These trailers look
They're so good.
Look
Amazing. And so I'm hopeful.
super entertaining. I mean, this may not be some big groundbreaking, super awesome movie,
it'll be good.
But it's
It
going
won't,
to be
because it's a
super
comedy.
entertaining.
It's almost like a toned down Deadpool.
Yeah.
DC version of Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. It's going to be funny. It's going to be something I watch a lot.
It's kind of like they're following the tone of, say, Guardians of the Galaxy and Ragnarok.
Yeah, very much.
But they're still doing their own thing.
Right.
Completely. Because this is a character.
I'm even more excited now because, like what we just talked about, the next one, this movie's going to be good. This character is going to be one of probably our favorite character in the DCEU.
Yeah.
And the freaking Rock.
And then we're bringing the Rock in to play Black
Bro.
Adam. What the hell?
Bro.
Okay, Isaac.
Thoughts on the DCEU as a whole? Hopeful, yes, but right now, man, I think it's weak. I think
completely.
it's very weak.
Yeah.
But I think with movies like Shazam, and obviously we're going to get a good sequel out of Aquaman, probably Wonder Woman 2. I think the Cavalry's...
Hopefully they do these solo films well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the Cavalry's coming. I think they've took...
And that they change Ezra Miller's Flash. I don't like
Yeah.
him.
I think they've took
That's all.
their
When we talk about
criticisms...
Justice League
He
in
was
a
supposed to
podcast,
be the
I'll
best
talk
thing about Justice League, and we didn't even talk
about it. He
about
was
it.
my lead. I was about to say at least
weakest link
that's not
for
true.
sure. I think that they've taken most of their criticism in stride. I think that's evident through movies like, from Justice League to like Aquaman, how much better like visually it looks. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Shazam. So I think they finally realized we've pretty much hit rock bottom with what should have been our pinnacle. But hey, we're going to build it back up, and eventually we're going to get to a new plateau, and it's going to be good. So I'm hopeful as well. I think that they're on their way, and I think that we just kind of have to. I think they have to be patient. They can't expect it to just happen.
And
overnight.
for listeners, I know I won't be one of these because I'm always hopeful. I want the best of this franchise, but I feel like there's too many critics and too many people are going to be like, nah, these movies have always been crap. They're not going to produce anything but crap.
How many final words do you have?
A lot. I got a lot to say, man. As listeners and consumers of the content, we just keep an open mind and to be supportive and give constructive feedback, however destructive that may be sometimes, of the heck did you release Justice League out this early for? Like, what? Man, like, you could have waited a little bit longer, built some story, and give us something incredible. Some of it is on us, but obviously most of it is on them. But, again, like, in my final word, I'm hopeful because I think they're starting to get a hold of that.
Overall, I think they started out well, and then they started chasing that Marvel dollar.
Yeah.
And I think...
Killed them.
Yeah, it almost did. But I think with the success of Wonder Woman, skipping over Justice League, and Aquaman, they've been good, and they've both made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Shazam is going to make a ton of money. I think they've turned the corner. I said it earlier, Marvel's telling a story, DC's making movies. And I think DC's finally figured out, hey, let's just tell some stories. We don't have, we tried to shoehorn Justice League in here just to make all the money we can make. Yeah. But we're just interested now in getting good creators, good filmmakers to tell good stories. So I'm pretty excited about the future.
Yeah.
One last thing, and then we'll wrap up, and I don't want to stay on this too long. what do y'all think about the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie? That's supposed to it's supposed to come out in October of this year.
I didn't know anything about this.
Are you kidding me?
They've released trailers and
Not trailers. I wouldn't call them trailers.
Yeah.
Teaser trailers.
I've been in the dark completely
very
about
very
this.
short
I guess.
teasers. Yeah.
What are you even doing on this podcast, bro? You saw Justice League
Garbage.
today. Didn't know anything about Joker.
Wait, Joaquin Phoenix is gonna be the Joker?
The Joker.
I kind of like that.
Dude.
That makes me pretty excited.
I'm going to go on record now and just say what I've seen so far, I'm not excited at all.
Are you kidding me?
I'm serious. I
Really?
don't know why.
I was about to say,
I haven't seen
that's
anything-
my immediate next question of why.
I haven't seen anything, so I'm just going off the fact that I like Joaquin Phoenix. So
Part of me
Dude,
is
their trailers are creepy.
they're creepy. They're super creepy. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
is it Tim Burton directed?
No.
That would
It's,
be awesome.
I can't remember. I think Todd Phillips maybe.
Sounds right.
But
Could be so wrong.
I'm not going to look it up just because I don't want to waste time.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the Joker doesn't need his own movie.
I can agree with that.
And
What is the Joker? Well, that's the biggest thing. Even in all the stories that are ever told.
Nobody knows.
Well, not that so much as what is the Joker without Batman?
True.
And what is Batman without the Joker?
Yep.
because
Two lunatics doing absolutely nothing.
they're getting close to post production on the Joker movie,
Yeah.
and now Ben Affleck's been out as Batman for a while, and the next Batman movie isn't coming out until June of next year or 2021. It's 2 years
We
away.
don't even have a Batman for it
Here's
yet.
my problem with that. Where does this fit into the DCEU?
I don't really think that matters because, like I said, I think they're part
they're
of me's
making
hopeful,
a movie to make money.
That's kinda,
Trying to tell a
but
story
if they've
that'll make
got
money.
if dude's like, I've got a great story to tell,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I just want to see an entire movie about the Joker. I don't know if I'd want to. I'd watch it.
Did you watch the Red Hood?
The animated one?
Yeah.
No,
I think you would.
really.
Yeah.
If you've seen more content with the Joker, I
Depends
think
on
you'd
the
be
Joker.
more
Red
excited
Hood
to
is
see.
Jason Todd, right?
Yeah, he is Jason Todd.
Yeah,
But that whole story came from Joker killed Jason Todd.
right.
I forget who took him to the Lazarus Pit, resurrected him. He became the Red Hood, started killing people. But we get a little bit of the origin story. The Killing Joke, have you seen that?
I should have. I haven't.
Bro, crazy. But again, we get a little bit more of kind of this this look into the Joker. The most mysterious. We do not know who the Joker is. Apparently, whenever Batman sat in the chair of like all knowledge, he asked him who the Joker was. Apparently, there's 3 of them in some story. Yeah, you just don't know enough. You just don't know enough about the Joker to be excited for this movie. And well, I guess
like I said,
so. What a
for
freaking
us,
idiot.
for us,
I'm
it's
wrong.
you don't know enough that you don't know. we
Right.
don't know anything more about the Joker than you may, but because we know this lack of knowledge is out there,
And
I think
nobody
this,
knows
To me-
I
anything
think this will
about
be
the
cool.
Joker.
To me, the Joker is one of the best antagonists in all these stories, comics or anything.
I'm so ready to talk about the Dark Knight because I've heard things from other podcasts talking about certain aspects of that movie
Yeah.
that I think they're just dumb all the
Yeah.
way. The things that they
But-
say are stupid.
But here's my
The
point.
podcast people, not
I
the movie.
kind of feel like I know all I need to know about the Joker. He's one of the top villains in all of
If
pop
you want to talk
culture,
about the most popular villain,
entertainment,
The
whatever.
Joker. People know
it
who
has
the
to be the
Joker
Joker.
is. I wouldn't.
oh, would you argue someone different?
Not Jared Leto.
Well, no, character, comic
Oh,
book.
okay.
Thanos?
Like, who is better than the Joker, or who is more recognizable than the Joker? Because that's 2 different things.
It is.
He probably is.
I would pretty
I'm
much
sitting
all the
here
way
thinking
say.
like, who's Spider-Man? Spider-Man's got Green Goblin and Doctor Octopus. Joker beats both of them.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, Captain America, he's got like Baron Zemo or something.
Red Skull.
Red Skull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
But
Red
still
Skull's gone.
Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Joker,
Thanos is
bro.
close. just
Close.
but
I'm gonna wrap up. Oh, go ahead.
This is something that the Joker would have done.
maybe Galactus
Going after the Infinity
Galactus
stuff.
a freaking intergalactic being
That's
that
pretty bad, yeah.
literally eats planets is the only one I can think
I'm so
of
ready for Galactus.
that gets close to the Joker. So.
But how great of a story are being told with all of those?
no, yeah.
Here's my deal with the Joker.
The
why
Joker,
why
man.
he's the best? Because Joker literally all the time gets all of Batman's villains together, and sometimes Superman, and says, "Hey, let's kill the Bat. Let's kill Superman."
It doesn't do anything.
Bro, does
Lets
all
him-
this stuff, makes all these villains do all his dirty work, and then he gets away, and they all go to jail.
Yeah.
And then here comes the Joker doing the same thing again, and they keep doing it.
He literally just did that because he knew he'd get away with it, and he knew it would be the funniest thing ever.
And he,
Yeah.
knew he, could do it. He knew he could tell the Penguin, like, "Hey, Penguin," knowing that the Penguin cannot kill Batman.
Yeah.
He goes, "Hey, Penguin, go kidnap Lois, or not Lois Lane.
Here,
I
take
guess
this
freaking
bomb
XYZ.
back.
I guess that's where I'm concerned
Right.
is we see him do this stuff and we laugh about it and we're like, that's a freaking awesome character. I don't need to know his motivations to be in that way. I don't want to see the man behind the curtain making him do all that.
We don't know.
Yeah. So that's what I'm worried about.
Take away from the character.
I'm worried
Is that what you're
about.
thinking?
I'm worried about losing some mystery.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that they just haven't done the best job of
agree.
telling
I'm
great
okay with that.
stories.
Yeah.
It
So
will-
I'm afraid they'll screw it up.
It would be like
but-
having a Thanos movie.
Joaquin Phoenix is, when he gets into these roles, he's somewhat insane, which fits this role perfectly.
Yeah.
So
God,
it
the
could be
trailers,
amazing. I hope I'm wrong, but
hope
I
so,
just
too.
see it and I'm like,
And it could-
I'm going to go watch it opening day, whatever.
It could
Yeah.
not
but
be
I'm
an
just
origin
kind of
story.
like, I don't know if this is what I want.
Are we
I
for
think-
sure it's an origin story?
I think that's what they're wanting to explore. And the thing is that there's not a origin story for the Joker.
Oh,
there's
there's
been
so many.
adaptations. That's the thing. There's been well, not even adaptations, but just of what if. Or more of let's say this is who he was or how he started.
A lot of hearsay.
We don't know.
A lot of hearsay.
And so hopefully they're not going to be like, yeah, this is how the Joker originated. Instead of maybe this is what happened.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw
That's
that
what
in.
I'm hoping for.
I wanted to throw that in there because I was looking earlier.
Dude, I'm hyped for it.
I didn't even know
Now
that was a
that
thing. I'm gonna have to go look up trailers.
I was looking
I
at.
didn't realize how hyped I was for it.
Yeah.
Man, because anything with the Joker in it, bro, it's crazy.
But I was looking at all the upcoming DC movies, and then that's another thing. There's like 8 or 10 movies that have been announced, or
Apparently, there's like 20 something.
you know,
in production.
Marvel's like, hey, we're doing Spider-Man, and they've kept that.
They
on
don't know
lockdown.
anything else. Yeah.
And they know exactly
That's
what they're
good.
doing. Oh no, it's gonna be awesome. But all right, so let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
That's our thoughts on the DCEU.
And not to totally crap on an entire
But to totally
universe.
crap on this entirety.
Right, like, you know, that's just our thoughts, and you may not feel the same way, and that's okay.
And y'all can't see me, but I'm like hanging my head because these are my favorite characters. These are my favorite stories, and I've just been let down. But you know, there's always hope, and I'm looking forward to the future. Shazam, I think it will be a turning point. Hopefully, I'm correct about that because people said the same thing about Aquaman, that it would be the best. Might be the best DCEU
Some people-
movie that's been
Some
created.
people acted like it was the best. I mean,
Yeah.
they made a big deal out of it, and I was like, pretty good.
Yeah. And well, to say that this is the best of the DCU is not saying that it's a great movie.
Right.
So that's our thoughts on the DCEU. Like Kirkland said, hopeful for Shazam. Looks like it's
Yeah.
going to be great. See y'all soon with our Shazam episode if you want to check it out.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.
Yep. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Dodge That Bullet podcast. Any feedback and community interaction is greatly appreciated. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or the Google Play Store, or anywhere else you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe or follow us at DTBpod on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.